I mean, really, it's just been on my mind. Who the fuck listens to podcasts? Like why would you do that to yourself?
I mean, the internet tries to convince me everybody listens to a podcast.
I want to listen to one that's like about misery, politics, and shit. Like listen to one that's like fun, like one about serial killers who rape and murder, people that look like their mom.
Well, that was a great intro. There is something going on with the audio, and it sounded horrible on my end.
Oh, good.
Hopefully, that's not the case.
We're just
everybody
retro now.
else.
We're old school. We're going back to basics. Can
Yeah.
we get me set up with an echo?
Yeah, we're going back to the echo times, boys. I don't know why that sounded so horrible. But we'll see if that continues. Hello and welcome to the Benzo Rehab Dungeon, episode 105, the NazBol hole part 3 of 3. It is the 19th of August, 2022. I am your host, Michael Deebs. I am joined, as always, by Dorko Poopman from the Instagram handle at DankDeLuz. Yeah, look at that crafty little fox guy made me say Dorko Poopman.
Yeah.
Also joined by John, the producer, Instagram handle not worth looking at, honestly.
Also known as IC Wiener.
Got him. Starting with John as the most oppressed member of this trio we have. How you doing, buddy? How you holding up? This is a check-in.
Yeah, the cops haven't caught me yet. Can't complain.
That's great. Glad to hear it. Is there a reason the cops are after you?
What are you, a cop?
You got me there. Probably. Cool. Well, now that we've gotten that out of the way, and an accusation that is spurious, Dorko Poopman, how are you doing today?
I'm gonna keep it real with you, Chief.
Okay.
I feel like shit.
Oh no!
I feel so fucking bad.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Okay,
I figured out why the audio was bad. By the way.
That's good. What did you do?
Discord changed my my output, so it was coming through.
I'm telling you, that shit
speakers
happens all the time.
Yeah, it was coming through the speakers port that goes back into my preamp, so that I can run my soundboard, and that was probably like tripling or quadrupling itself in sound. So that's great. But anyways, we were talking about how Dorko Poopman is. Go ahead.
Yeah. I got drunk with an internet person last night, and I feel bad. I feel I'm very hungover.
Not because of the internet person.
No, I mean they suck too. Fuck you, Jacob.
Yeah, you hung out with Jacob, who does the religious deconstruction episodes with me sometimes on Sundays.
Oh hell yeah. But yeah, we went to a concert and we drank. I don't know necessarily how much we drank, but there were 3 empty bottles of scotch. Well, no, 1 empty bottle of scotch and 2 empty bottles of Japanese whiskey by the time that I crawled out of bed. So I'm assuming we did something terrible.
Yeah.
Like sat around talking about our feelings.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Why didn't you guys just fuck instead? Jesus.
We should have. We should have. I feel like if I had significantly more gay sex than I currently do, I'd be able to really I'd be able to start hoovering up cool left internet points.
That's definitely.
Because I'm already probably schizophrenic and autistic and stupid and illiterate, which all of those things certainly help in theory grant. If I just added that I suck dick, I would have
And I
I
suck
would have all
dick.
5.
Cool. Yeah. It really
Anyway,
helps
how
you
are
out
you?
when
How are
you're
you?
playing.
How are? Sorry, sorry to interrupt you, but I have to ask you this question. How are you?
Yeah,
How
it
are
is
you
in your
feeling,
contract to
Mike?
do that.
Yeah, it's in the script.
Right. Which actually
Yes,
everything is scripted out. We should probably tell people.
Which
in
is why I
advance.
interrupt him constantly and
Yeah,
speak
well,
over him like I'm
I
currently
mean,
doing. It's
if you look, it's all
scripted in.
in
It's all there. Every time
yeah.
you see something crossed out, it's
Yeah.
because I'm speaking over Mike.
We're actually.
I don't like doing this, guys. I don't like speaking over my friend or interrupting him. I think it's very
Yeah.
rude. Anyway, how are you, Mike?
Doing all right.
The reason
man.
I ask you is because I'm like curious about your
Mhm.
general state, like how you're feeling and stuff.
I really kind of
Because it's important to me that you're doing well.
I really kind of went heavy-handed with the script this time. I'm sorry, guys. I wrote it when I was drunk.
And suicidal.
Yeah, drunk and suicidal. I need somebody to care about me real bad right now. No, I'm doing okay actually. Last couple of days I've been working in the sun a lot. So mild heat exhaustion set in earlier today, but I drank a lot of water. We're gonna make it happen. That's also a forewarning that there may be a PP break somewhere in here because I drank quite a lot of water. I tried to get it out of my system before I started the podcast, of course, but
You know what? Everyone on the fucking internet, because the internet's a stupid place. Everyone's constantly saying drink your water,
Yeah.
but then what does it fucking lead to? It leads to piss breaks and shit. It is
Yeah.
not efficient to be drinking all this water, guys. We gotta get back to work.
Yeah.
last
Get back on the
week
assembly line.
last week I debuted the piss break music. I didn't get any negative feedback because I didn't look at any feedback to begin with.
Yeah.
So here we are.
But it's a little guitar piece that I wrote and performed, recording it probably in the worst way I could. Which was shoving a microphone in front of my amp and going like, yeah, that's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
It's not the right
decent.
kind of microphone is the problem.
Yeah. Well, you could just can you just line in the whole thing?
Yeah, I can,
Do
but
that.
sometimes it gives me like funky feedback, so I didn't want to deal with it, and I was like, shit, it's 4 p.m. on a Friday before we do the 7 o'clock podcast, and I should probably get this recorded because I promised on the last episode to do it.
What if I submitted intermission music, but it's me doing armpit fart sounds to that old fish head song? You know the song I'm talking about?
You and the listener / viewer can submit anything you would like to be the intermission music.
Yeah, but do you remember the fish head song? That's the important part of this.
Is
Fish
that a
heads,
ween?
fish heads,
Yeah, okay,
roly poly
right.
fish heads,
Yeah.
fish heads, eat 'em up, yum. That was a weirdly large part of my childhood.
Didn't
Then the worms.
Ween do a cover of that? I think.
I think
Or
so.
something?
Yeah. Ween did that, I think, and then there was both these played all the time on Comedy Central back when I was a child. But the other one was the nobody loves me, everybody hates me. Guess I'll go eat worms.
Yeah.
That one. I think Kids in the Hall did a version of that.
That checks out. Yeah.
Yeah. But those two songs, Fish Heads and Worms, that's all that was in my brain when I was a child, and I will tell you right now, it's all that's in my brain now. It's all it's all brain worms and like little, not even fish heads, but like fish heads on little fish skeletons like you see in cartoons that like alley cats always have.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, my brain is just full of that.
Good.
Yeah.
Speaking of brains full of stuff, go to our first link. The CDC has now come full circle and admitted that it fucked up at the beginning of COVID at the very least, and probably during COVID a lot. The first major thing that they did was say that masks weren't necessary And they said that because they didn't want a medical staff shortage of masks, essentially, which does make sense to a certain degree, but it eroded trust in the institution to know that they were purposefully lying for, what they may have seen as a good reason, but still is a lie and still may have contributed to more people getting sick because they weren't masking up or anything like that. Um, another major one is that a lot of their guidance ended up like contradicting their own findings, just because they were under pressure to like get the economy moving again for rich people. Um, they're not ever going to own up to that necessarily, I don't think, but that's still going to be a facet of the CDC moving forward. I think is this pressure from the external forces and the government to uh, cater to the class of rich people that want us to die for the economy. Um, I don't think a whole lot's actually going to change through this. The CDC director is saying that they're going to restructure how they deliver information, blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. What that restructuring looks like is a big question mark. It's just saying we're going to do it, and you know, at the very least, it's interesting that they're admitting that they fucked up a bunch of times, and that these fuck ups eroded trust, which is points that I think we made early on in the Benzo Rehab dungeon, which was started during the real big height of the early pandemic. Was that the CDC was saying a lot of things that didn't even make any fucking sense. Um, this has nothing to do with and this erosion of trust and the gaps that the CDC was leaving with their information dissemination. Kind of allowed a lot of right-wing people to insert whatever nonsense they wanted to, like, oh, it's a hoax, or oh, it's a Chinese lab leak, which aren't things that you can hold in your brain at the same time unless you're crazy, by the way.
Well, and let's be fair. There
No.
were some left-wing conspiracy theories about throwing off your like chakras or vibes or wavelengths or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there was a very small contingent of left-wing people who were saying that this had more to do with the position of the sun and moon and Mars.
Which all of that obviously is like patently false and ridiculous, but everyone knows that COVID is actually caused by 5G.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Demonetized. We were never monetized.
So someone told me that my cock will never resonate right again.
Were they right or were they wrong?
I mean,
how's your cock resonation been?
I have not hooked it up to an oscilloscope yet.
Oh my god. I imagine the way you have to do it is you have to put one lead inside your urethra and then the other one at like the base of your balls or something.
Yeah, I was thinking like just
I need a reference point for
seam
my
of his sack.
urethral vibes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, COVID led to the Great Resignation as well as the Great John Resonation.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I resonated
stronger now.
All over the place.
Thick vibes have been off.
Yeah.
Now, is it more important that it just resonates like consistently, or do you want like a really high frequency, or what are you looking for in terms of resonance?
I'm not there? Actually.
Yeah.
But like, how do I know if it resonates good?
It's supposed to be like a feedback loop that kind of feeds you back your own frequency, but like with a higher amplitude.
Yeah, my dick definitely gets worse constantly. So I mean, there's that.
Yeah, I mean, do you own at least 5 crystals?
I actually do. Well, I'm not going to call them rocks. They're minerals, Marie. I do own a small rock collection now, but none of them are crystals, really. I mean,
so you need to go get crystals. Get the ones that do have crystals, and you have to put them up your ass all at the same time.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I got some rocks here that would go real well up my bum.
And that'll
When you-
fix your your resignation. I can't even say it.
when you put the right color combination of crystals up your ass, it's called the Infinity Gauntlet, I think.
Hell
And if you
yeah.
clap your cheeks, you can end end existence.
Yeah, I actually that's why I have two cheeks, because every time
Yeah.
I clap them, half of the universe disappears.
That's the only reason you have two cheeks.
Yeah.
Not just because you have a regular butt.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with like bilateral symmetry
Oh,
and
okay.
the way
Yeah.
that organisms are like structured.
Fair enough.
It has to do with a number joke. Does anyone want to see my square root? Yeah, that's just my
No.
asshole. My butthole is a square root.
HC in the chat just posted
loves
the
this song.
Worms song in Spanish, which I'm not going to attempt, but maybe the
John,
viewer can take
go
a
ahead.
look at it. I don't think John speaks Spanish either.
So either.
So it's really funny because of how ambiguous my race is. Every time I go to Home Depot, I try to avoid the older Hispanic ladies because they assume that I speak Spanish. And then when I don't speak Spanish, they assume I should know, and I'm killing our culture now.
I got that
that's
so
Mike
much.
too, yeah.
Yeah.
I got that so much working at a hotel. And every time I would have to explain to like a new housekeeper, many of whom are Spanish. This isn't like a stereotype racist thing. It's a very thankless, low-paying job that is given to a lot of immigrants. We'll be talking about immigrant lives later, but yeah, they would always ask me if I speak Spanish, or they would try to speak to me in Spanish, and I would have to like regrettably inform them that I don't speak Spanish. And by my actual like ethnic makeup, I probably shouldn't actually speak Spanish for any other reason than like some early trade done way back when. But yeah, I would have to tell them, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish," and they would look at me like, "What's wrong with you?" And then like several of them said like, "Oh, your mother didn't teach you?" And I was like, "Well, my mom's a white lady, so no."
I also get like a lot of weird ethnic confusion from
people are like, "Hey, where's the potatoes at, potato boy?"
Well, yeah, I mean, people constantly look at me and they ask me, "Hey, so nice. I like your big old red beard. Are you the tiny dick potato eating Catholic guy, or are you the giant fucking idiot that fucks sheep?" And I say, kind of both. It's I fuck sheep with my tiny dick.
I love potatoes. Nobody's
I
gonna
love
take
them.
that from me.
Potatoes are great, guys. I
Yeah.
mean, it's it's like I forget who makes the joke. I think a lot of people make the joke, but like, everyone likes fried chicken, not just the people that you're thinking of now. But everyone also loves potatoes. You know, no one doesn't like potatoes.
Maybe like sociopaths or something.
Yeah, sociopaths probably don't like fried chicken. I know.
So, somebody incapable of empathy. Yeah.
I do know one person that doesn't like potatoes. I know one person that doesn't like potatoes unless they're in fry form, but
well,
I mean,
they technically like potatoes.
Yeah.
Well, they have some emotions, some feelings.
If you can't handle me at my mash, you don't deserve me at my fry. Is
honestly,
that sounds like something that a rapist would say.
Mashed potatoes are, I think, the best potatoes.
I do too.
They are my favorite potato.
Same.
They're better than French fries,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
And then you can fry the mash, and that's also very good.
That's true. Latkes are way fucking up there too if they're like cooked in chicken fat. That's a real good potato too. That's a fucking great potato.
We got to get on to
this.
the next.
We were talking about CDC.
Yeah. Now we're doing like the worst podcaster sort of stuff where we're just talking about our daily lives and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Look, no, everyone cares about potatoes.
Yeah. Guys,
Yeah,
we're
and-
your real, actual life friends, and
Yeah,
we
we
love
are.
you. And you know,
Hey, how have you been doing, listener? How are you doing today?
yeah,
Yeah.
That's really
comment,
interesting.
comment,
That's really interesting.
and I will read the comment.
Yeah.
How
That's
you're doing?
oh my god,
Yeah.
she did what?
Call into our new
That's-
on-air hotline.
That
That
is
is
disgusting.
that is something I would like to set up eventually. Is people calling in? So
You're not that bad, really. I mean, no, come on. You don't need to do this. You don't, please don't. I can't do this again. All right. I'm so fucking sick of this shit. Every time I ask you how you are, you just fucking dump your trauma onto me, your stupid fucking day. I don't even mean it when I ask you that, by the way. I'm just trying to be polite. I don't actually care how you're doing because I always know this is exactly what you're going to do. You're always going to do this to me. And I'm trying so hard to be your podcast friend, but instead you just fucking dump on me and dump on me and dump on me. And you expect me to say, when you ask me how I'm doing, to say some kind of stupid joke while wearing a fucking fox face. and I'm sick of it because I have feelings too. Okay. I also have feelings. I'm a real person. I'm not just a CGI fox that everyone wants to fuck.
Hey, Dorco.
Yeah, what's up?
I haven't had any potatoes today, so I don't give a fuck.
Hey, let's move this along and go
Oh.
to the next link because we got on a tangent there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to this next link, but I'll be gone for a second because I forgot my beer over there. So
All right, that's cool. We don't need you for this conversation anyway.
Yeah, I forgot my whiskey also, so maybe I'm.
oh God, Liz Cheney has a strategy.
Oh hell yeah, I love it when she has a strategy.
So the predictable thing that could happen out of letting somebody like Liz Cheney kind of run the quote unquote bipartisan January 6th committee, which I will remind the viewer and listener is not a part of the actual criminal investigation for January 6th, which who fucking cares about that basically anyways. But this is all just political theater being carried out. And the Democrats weren't like I don't know, fucking ballsy enough, confident enough to actually like hold this on their own because you know they're scared of doing anything ever. Um and so what they did instead is they let a demon like Liz Cheney, who is a really horrible person with a lot of background and things like helping out the war in Iraq. I mean, not helping out in like a positive way, but helping to make it happen. And you know, running defense for what we were doing over there, and
I mean, at least she
running
comes from a good family.
yeah, and she comes from a good family. I looked at her Twitter and she like reposted a picture of her dad from when he was like not as weird and creepy looking, but still weird and creepy looking. And like, you know, like, look at this guy, handsome young man sort of thing.
He looked really good in that picture. It was weird that he had a shotgun pointed like into the lens.
So, you know, she idolizes her dad, who is a war criminal. She herself is probably guilty of some form of war crimes or another. I mean, war crimes aren't a real thing because they're never really actually enforced in any way. And more, it's just like you're an evil person who did evil things in the world. But she has successfully rehabilitated her career with the liberals just by running this January 6th committee, which hasn't done anything useful. There's been a couple of explosive testimonies that have come out, but again, this is all separate from the actual criminal investigation that's going on. And the actual criminal investigation that's going on has the ability to do something with the information they're getting. The congressional hearings are just political theater. And as is typical with the Democrats, they, you know, they don't have the courage to actually do this on their own. They get somebody like Liz Cheney to do it for them. And now instead of like actually doing anything positive or like holding anybody accountable. What they've done is they've rehabilitated the career of a very evil person who is hinting at a presidential run in 2024.
That would be so fucking funny, man. That
Yeah.
that would rule so much.
Well, I posted on my Facebook. Well, I think I posted on the Instagram story too. In 2024, all the shit libs in your life are going to be telling you that Liz Cheney is the rational option to Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
And-
it would be so fucking cool if she ended up being our first woman president. That would be so fucking awesome.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
something that she has going
Just-
for her in that regard, right? Is like, you know, the sins of somebody like Hillary Clinton, and you know, you can say that but her emails sort of stuff. I mean, she's an awful person who's done a lot of awful things over her political career. Just ask the Syrians.
And the Hondurans.
Yeah, and lots of people all over the world that probably don't have a high opinion of Hillary Clinton for her career, especially when she was Secretary of State. You know, a lot of that got washed away because it was like, think of it though, the first woman president, and it's like, yeah, I mean, evil person though attached to that. Kamala Harris, you know, when Kamala Harris was announced as the VP pick, I you know, basically shit posted real hard about like all the bad things that she's done over her career, and several people that you know, I wasn't too close with or anything like that, but several people I knew basically accused me of trying to shut down a black woman who's, you know, finally girl bossing her way to the top. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's neat and everything, but evil person attached to it. So
how cool would it be if actually it was Liz Cheney against Kamala Harris?
I will.
How awesome would that
That
be?
would be the most boring presidential race.
I hope we're
God,
still
I've
allowed to buy
ever seen.
guns so I can put the gun in my mouth and pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I think it's a come town bit actually, but yeah, no, it is. Where Nick just points out how funny it would be for someone. I think he was talking about Kamala Harris specifically, but if a woman of color became president, it would be really, really funny because of the fact that white women would still be desperate to have like one of them become president, but they wouldn't be able to say it. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, we need a woman in the White House, you know, but not, you know.
that's absolutely what would happen.
Man, I've become a racist against white women on this podcast. That's just what I do. you know.
I
I
feel
just
like
say
that's allowed.
mean things about white women. Fun fact: the only people I've ever loved.
Wow. Interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
Kind of calls into question some things you've said to me in the past.
Oh yeah.
We won't do that on the podcast right now.
Well, the blonde wig was really helping you out, you know.
Back in the days, I'd wear a blonde wig and powder my face so that you'd love me.
It was so hot, dude. It's unbelievable.
Cool. So yeah, I just wanted to bring up the Liz Cheney thing. Maybe scroll down a bit. I think there's like an interesting bit of the article that I wanted to read here, but I can't remember anymore. Yeah, I mean, she references Lincoln in her speech, which is like, just fucking fuck off. The other thing I wanted to bring up, Trump, right? So
Sure.
she's taking these knocks about you know, being anti-Trump because she's holding him accountable, quote unquote. Can't actually do anything to hold him accountable in these congressional hearings because there's already a Department of Justice investigation going on. So she's taking these political knocks because she's holding him accountable. She voted in line with all of Trump's policies. Like, I think it's like 93% of the time he was in office. was against things like the Voting Rights Act, stuff like that. So she I mean, people call other people rhinos, Republican in name only. She's an anti-Trumper in name only. Everything she's done has reinforced, and again, it should be specified that Trump did not do anything really outlandish to what most neoliberal presidents do.
I
He
mean,
was just a little bit on the conservative evil side of it.
He
Well,
just did it while holding
was
a Big Mac, so people got real weird about it.
yeah, he was sloppy about it,
Right. Yeah.
we don't like sloppy.
No, we don't.
I mean, I
mean, we only like the sloppy when it's toppy. People are saying.
We like it like Ben Shapiro's wife.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Dry.
Ben
Dry
Shapiro
and
looking
neat.
at his wife and saying,
It's not gonna lick itself.
Man, that guy's fucked before. Is that
he has had
he
two
has had
children
a whole
apparently.
sex.
I don't know if I
mean,
believe it.
So he doesn't know that vaginas can lubricate themselves. Maybe his doctor wife stole his semen
Mm.
and inseminated herself, or she fucked other dudes. I'm not sure.
She does
I
have
like-
the
I
medical
like the-
know-how to do both of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Medical know-how.
The fuck up.
I went to medical school. I can cuck anyone I want.
Exactly.
But I do really like the idea of Ben Shapiro with a turkey baster that's like the size of him, because he's a small man.
Yeah.
And just working to fill that up with cum over a series of months.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's not a good visual. And unfortunately, as we were
Kinda.
talking about before the show started, I can't use Dolly OpenAI to make that a reality.
Yeah. Well, no, you could make just Ben Shapiro turkey baster.
That's true. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll give it a spin later.
We should try to sell that on our merch store. Is there any company that'll like slap a fuck it sticker onto a turkey baster and let us sell it for markup?
I gotta start drop shipping the Ben Shapiro turkey baster.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Good talk, guys. All right, so we have to get to our main subject of the night, which is the end of our 3-part series on NazBols, also known as National Bolsheviks. To preface this, I'm going to be going into some stuff about what nations are and what they probably aren't as well. I would like to keep this dialogue open. If you disagree with something I'm saying or something that I'm proposing, you two are more than welcome to levy a complaint against that, and I will mute
I would
you
never
and
disagree
kick
with
you from.
live on a podcast.
No, that would never happen, and it's never happened. And anytime it does happen, I get weird
You
messages
shut me down.
about
You're
it.
always really rude about it.
Yeah. So I will preface this conversation with so we're going to be talking about nationalism and patriotism, both things that NazBols hold as one of their central tenets. The other one that they propose or claim to hold on to is, some notion of socialism or communism. We've kind of shown that that's not really the case in history. We've also shown that a lot of times their belief set comes from incredibly devious people, so to speak, who are Nazis or fascists, or so fascist that you can't even consider them fascist anymore because they're
Because they're
alien
above it.
Aryan gods. We're going to be talking about nationalism, and so I think first what we have to do is we have to kind of define what a nation even is to begin with, and why it's probably well, I at the very least am going to challenge the notion of what a nation is. So we have this cool little map here that I found, which shows all the flags of all the countries around the world, all the nations that exist in the world. And you see that there's a lot of interesting lines and borders and regions and flags, and some flags that are in two places at once on the map. And we've got Dugan with a rocket launcher in the background on Dorko Poop Man's screen name.
Hell yeah.
So
this is a fox whistle.
not a dog whistle, just a fox whistle.
Yeah, because I'm a ooh woo little foxy boy with my little foxy tail. Ooh woo.
Luke in the chat asks, "Are they those weird ones who make memes like I'm a communist because I'm a patriot?" I know you watched our last episode, so I don't know why you're asking this question, but yes.
I mean, let's be fair though. Luke was very likely in a K-hole. Well,
that's true. That's true and fair, and we love him for it.
Yeah. I mean, who isn't in a K-hole when they're recording and or listening to a podcast?
I'm not. Show of hands if
What?
you're in a K-hole.
Yeah,
Huh?
I mean, I wish I could dissociate from what we're doing
Yeah.
right now.
It's just you. It's just you, Dorko. All right. So nations, states. Where do they come from? Go ahead and go to the next link.
When a mommy loves a daddy.
Yeah, when a mommy loves a daddy.
They
So,
establish borders.
The popular understanding from mainstream history is that nations kind of appear after the French Revolution with the founding of the French Republic. It's operating a bit different than regions normally operated in. Now you've got this thing that like governs rather than like dictates. There's an idea that maybe there's a little bit of choice involved in this. Not really the case in the early French Republic, but we like to imagine that it's the case. There's this understanding that this region and this border that we've drawn around this region, we're all kind of more or less the same people, and because of that, we're going to consolidate power in a certain way. That we now own this territory, and if you're in this territory, you're either French or you're some kind of outsider, and maybe you don't belong around here anymore. There's also and I want to give some fair time to this. There's also a theory that the English Commonwealth is actually the first instance of a nation state sort of thing. But who really cares? Because my intention is to destroy this concept of what a nation is. So yeah, I know we're doing deconstruction, babes.
I would never do violence to a concept.
Don't murder us in our sleep tonight.
I would only do violence to a person, never a concept. Go ahead and go to the next link here, John, which I believe is just a definition.
Nope, it's
it's a House of Dragons ad. The show nobody asked for. Yeah, the House of Dargons. So nation, noun, a large body of people associated with a particular territory that is sufficiently conscious of its unity to seek or possess a government peculiarly its own. The territory or country itself, a member tribe of an American Indian Confederation, an aggregation of persons of the same ethnic family, often speaking the same language or cognate languages. Go ahead and go to the next link.
Wouldn't it have been better if the word notion wasn't already taken? And they were notions.
Yeah,
that are
I mean-
bordered by oceans.
Ooh, a nation is just an ocean bordered by an ocean. Zoom out of this so we can see the whole map. Sorry. Some of these links are a little bit fucky, I know. There we go. These are the official languages of countries around the world. You'll see English in a lot of places that maybe it doesn't belong in.
Weird.
Yeah. You'll see German in a lot of places. Maybe it doesn't belong. No. But yeah. So these are kind of the primary spoken languages around the world. One of my favorite things is that the Eastern European sort of region is just like gray, like other languages. They're all doing their own little thing over there.
Well, like, isn't that like because that's like the part of the world where like you go over a hill and they like are speaking a different language, right?
Yeah, some kind of different moon speak.
Some other kind of gypsy nonsense.
Wow, that's whoa. He pulled out the G word with a hard Y.
I gotta say. I got fucking brain damage. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah, you did like a
no, yeah. Did you know that it was called Mongolic, not Mongolian?
I did not know that. No.
Yeah.
Apparently, unless this map is made by some kind of fucking idiot. But I don't assume that that's the case. Mongolic, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's possible.
That's how they spell it too.
Yeah, these are all the English versions of all these languages names.
Yeah, the Mongolic languages.
It's pretty wild that it blew my mind when I was a kid when I became confused because like at some point like a teacher started using like the word for the country that the actual people that live there use, and then because I was an idiot because I was a child.
Yeah.
I immediately became confused and was like, why don't we just call it what they call it then? And like nobody ever gave me a good answer until I became an adult, and I was like, oh, it's because we're racist and stupid.
Yeah. We can only understand it on our own terms.
Yeah.
The next map, and so before we go to that, actually, you'll notice a lot of like continuations of languages, right? And then white lines around those regions, anyways. So it maybe dispels the notion that like having the same language or the same culture or the same sort of like rituals or anything like that really actually is what defines a nation. It seems more like the borders are actually what define a nation. And the way those borders are drawn, we'll talk about a little bit later. But it's interesting to me that we have these languages that are spoken, all through these regions, and yet they're still not, connected nations to each other. They're separate nations. So the idea that nations come out of like some consistent bond with each other isn't really the case. And then when we go to the next map, we'll see like this conception even gets fuzzier when we look at the secondary spoken languages of all these nations. So go ahead and go to that next map. You'll have to scroll down a little bit. You have to scroll down. Shut up, man. Do your job as the producer and read the links ahead of time once, Kick
his ass. Kick his ass.
Kick his ass.
If I move out to the meth capital of the world with you, or actually I think it's the opiate capital of the world, whatever drug capital of the world it is, I'm definitely going to kick you in the balls.
That's fair.
Did you just dox Mike's drug habits?
I think you did, yeah. Scroll up a little bit so we can see the color key, because I think the color key is a little bit interesting as well.
What's a color key?
Well, I'm glad you asked. It's a color association with what it's saying on the map.
Shut the fuck up.
John, you could probably zoom in just a little bit more.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, so
zoom out.
things are legible and shit like that.
Zoom in a little bit more.
Yeah.
Zoom out a little bit.
These are the
Zoom out a little bit.
All right.
Okay, zoom in now. I'll just
Oh no,
no,
shit.
like very slightly. Zoom out again. In slightly.
if you don't hold right here, I'm gonna withhold pay for 3 months. All right. So we have all these secondary languages, the primary secondary language that is spoken in all of these countries. And then also it has a color key that relates to their parent languages, which I think is also interesting. And so, you know, in a country like America, the secondary spoken language is Spanish. And you know, that does make sense because we're right on the border with Mexico, which the primary language is Spanish.
And we don't actually let French Canadians in, and they don't want in.
Yeah, they don't want in. But you know, a lot of these languages have, you know, similar roots, similar. I mean, a lot of colonization has happened, of course, in the background of all of this. And yet these people who, you know, speak similar languages together, and then similar secondary languages, they still have these borders around them. They still have these things that are keeping them separated. You know, the primary secondary language in America is Spanish, and yet we still have this big old border between us and Mexico. So
I cannot believe that I'm sitting through someone explaining Metal Gear Solid 5 to me again.
yeah.
This is fucking exhausting.
And then, you know, when we look at the parent languages that are spread all around, you know, a lot of similarities between all these countries that are opposed to each other or friendly with each other, but still maintain their border states and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and go to the next link.
What is a GBE language?
A great big Englishman.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Gynecologically based environmental language.
It's like 20 related languages stretching across the area between eastern Ghana and western Nigeria, which I guess we would be able to tell from the map anyway.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, it's not an acronym.
So and go ahead and scroll down to page 10. So I did a little bit of a reading of Foucault.
Oh my god!
And Foucault is a person who likes to study states and nations and power and stuff like that. And one of Foucault's points of philosophy is that the state has no essence. And what he means by the state has no essence is that the state is really kind of derived from nothing but a power structure that insists on it becoming something, which I think is kind of proved by how a lot of borders work in the first place, where, you know, we've talked about it before in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Along the border, you have people who are part of the same tribes, part of the same families and stuff like that, and they don't recognize the border the same way that the map recognizes the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. You see this also, you know, more topically in something like the Donbass region of Ukraine, where a lot of people in that region identify more with being Russian than they do with being Ukrainian, despite the fact that they're in the Ukrainian territory. And this isn't me saying it's good that Russia has done an invasion. I'm just saying that there is a real phenomenon there where people do identify as Russian when they're not belonging to the Russian state. You'll see this in the border between the U.S. and Mexico, where you have families that are literally split by the border, where one, you know, side of the family exists in, you know, Texas or California, New Mexico, Arizona, something like that, and the other side of the family lives on the Mexican side of the border. And these people are still kin to each other. They're still people that grew up around each other and recognize each other as family, but a border separates them, and it has nothing to do with whether or not these people are, national to each other or not, through some like ethnicity. It has more to do with what the state power demands out of them, right?
Ye-
Yes.
Yeet, as the kids say.
So this is Foucault's essay, Subject and Power. And John, if you could zoom in just a little bit.
A little bit more.
A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more.
Well,
That's pretty
Easy,
good right
easy.
there. Got to get close enough to my eyes that I can see it. So we're gonna start at the paragraph that says maybe.
Maybe. Let's see. There it is.
Maybe. So he's done a bunch of talking about how nations are formed and how states work and blah blah blah. I'm kind of just giving the highlight reel on this one. So he continues with maybe the target nowadays is not to discover what we are, but to refuse what we are. We have to imagine and to build up what we could be to get rid of this kind of political double bind, which is the simultaneous individualization and totalization of modern power structures. The conclusion would be that the political, ethical, social, philosophical problem of our days is not to try to liberate the individual from the state and from the state's institutions, but to liberate us both from the state and from the type of individualization which is linked to the state. We had to promote new forms of subjectivity through the refusal of this kind of individuality which has been imposed upon us for several centuries. So if you could scroll down to page 16 before I do some talking. So basically what Foucault is trying to say here, and he does it in a really roundabout way, is that the notion of the nation has been imposed upon the individual, and the individual has kind of taken it into their own. And through taking it into their own, they're empowering the notion of the nation. I don't know if Dorko has any thoughts that he would like to add on to this.
No, I mean, like I would just say that the idea of a nation, the reason that ends up kind of arising out of like the French, is because of the fact that it has less to do with the construction of borders or anything like that, and more to do with just the fact that there's a new articulation of what sovereignty is, right? So rather than having a king that's your daddy, that everyone is recognizes as being the sovereign and makes all the choices and stuff, suddenly there's this choice to believe that everyone is part of that sovereign power, which comes from a nice optimistic place, but fundamentally isn't necessarily the case, and it gets you into what Foucault I think is appropriately pointing out as like a double bind, because it produces the idea of sovereignty or sovereignty and the establishment of something like a strong nation state, while also making it so that the individual doesn't actually have all that much power. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, and essentially what's happening here is we're doing away with the notion of like traditional sovereignty, and what we're going to do instead now is we're going to elect a sovereign, and give this new sovereign power that now we no longer possess because they're sovereign and we're not, more or less, I think.
And then like because the way the capital ends up functioning, not to get into a whole other topic, The fact is that these people that we end up kind of imbuing with our like illusion of sovereign power ultimately end up losing it to something like the market system anyway. And you can certainly see that in the US at this point.
Not very recently.
Right. And just in the idea that like political power becomes increasingly less powerful. And so the idea that we are imbuing them with any amount of power, especially as we continually try to claim that we can take it back by force, is just so laughable and bizarre, because there's no power there to take back.
Exactly. Yeah.
It all belongs to Walmart and Disney.
Yeah. It's all a system of enabling the worst aspects of the market.
Hell yeah.
Ultimately.
The worst aspects of the market being the market.
Right. Yeah. So go ahead and go down to the bottom of this page. Is where I'd like to start this next reading.
Started from the bottom.
He does some more rambling and stuff. I do enjoy this particular essay. So if you have time, you can look it up. Foucault, Subject and Power. It's free online, as all things should be. But it's very easy to find, and it's a pretty good read, in my opinion.
Was that a Thanos thing? Free online as all things should be.
No, what? No,
Perfectly balanced as all things should be.
I'm
talking about my butt again. My square
Jesus
root.
Christ, man!
my-
Get the diamonds out of your ass. Shit, diamonds. No. So Foucault later on expands on all these things, and he says, let us come back to the definition of the exercise of power as a way in which certain actions may structure the field of other possible actions. What, therefore, would be proper to a relationship of power that it be a mode of action upon actions. That is to say, power relations are rooted deep in the social nexus, not reconstituted above society as a supplementary structure whose radical effacement one could perhaps dream of. In any case, to live in society is to live in such a way that action upon other actions is possible and, in fact, ongoing. A society without power relations can only be an abstraction, which, be it said in passing, makes all the more politically necessary the analysis of power relations in a given society, their historical formation, the source of their strength or fragility, the conditions which are necessary to transform some or to abolish others. For to say that there cannot be a society without power relations is not to say either that those which are established are necessary, or in any case that power constitutes a fatality at the heart of societies, such that it cannot be undermined. Instead, I would say that the analysis, elaboration, and bringing into question of power relations. John, scroll down.
Sorry, I was reading.
There you go. And the agonism between power relations and the intransitivity of freedom is a permanent political task inherent in all social existence. The analysis of power relations demand that a certain number of points be established concretely. Let me take a sip real quick. Dorco's fox keeps disappearing on me out of the corner of my eye. Danko Suvin.
Danko Spoon Man. He loves coffee. Read the fucking list.
Yeah. One.
Read the fucking list.
I'm trying to. I forgot where I was.
The system of
one. The system of differentiations, which permits one to 1, to act upon the actions of others, differentiations determined by the law or by traditions of status and privilege, economic differences and the appropriation of riches and goods, shifts in the processes of production, linguistic or cultural differences in know-how and competence, and so forth. Every relationship of power puts into operation differentiations which are at the same time its conditions and its results.
Oh, hell yeah.
2,
Dude,
the types.
I'm sorry. I need to get my giggles out a little bit. I'm trying not to laugh as you read Foucault aloud. But it's so I love that fucking move where it's I don't hold on, I have to figure out where I was on this list you haven't started. I love that so much.
I meant where I was on the page, but regardless.
I know, but it's like it's such a funny idea. like you pick up a book and you're like, fuck, I forgot my bookmark. And it's like you literally haven't cracked it open yet. God, I'm so fucking dumb.
No, you got me good there. That's fair. I got lost when I was trying to like look through things. But anyways, yeah. I'm also a dumbass and illiterate. And part of the problem with when I read stuff is I have somebody talking to me in an earpiece and I'm trying to repeat words that I don't know. And sometimes that gets jumbled up. That's a secret producer that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His name is John, but spelled differently.
It's just backwards. Nahaj.
Yeah.
Knowledge?
So 2, the types of objectives pursued by those who act upon the actions of others, the maintenance of privileges, the accumulation of profits, the bringing into operation of statutory authority, the exercise of a function or of a trade. I promise I pre-read this, but you know, I am retarded.
Yeah,
Well,
the words are hard out loud. You know,
yeah,
it's that disease where, you know, if you've only read it in your brain, you don't know how to say the words. It's why I read everything aloud on the bus.
12 rules for life. Do not let your children do anything that hates you or makes you hate them.
Everyone's just like, oh man, Dorco poop man, you gotta do audiobooks or something. And I'm like, have you never been on the train in Milwaukee?
I am an audiobook. All right. 3, the means of bringing power relations into being. According to whether power is exercised by the threat of arms, by the effects of the word, by means of economic disparities, by more or less complex means of control, by systems of surveillance, with or without archives, according to rules which are or are not explicit, fixed, or modifiable, with or without the technological means to put all these things into action. This is a lot of if and or maybe this or and that or this or that sort of stuff. But basically what he's saying here is the only way a nation can really actually like make itself be is through some threat of force, and that's it. You know, you can't have a community on the border of Texas and Mexico decide that they're like just gonna be cool with each other all the time. They don't have a border anymore. They're not gonna like check each other crossing back and forth between that border. They're just gonna accept anybody on that side of the fence and the other side of the fence. And in fact, there is no fence anymore to them. That border has to be maintained by force, which is where we start getting into nationalism as something that necessarily has to be enforced in order to be conceived of, right? So we'll move on to 4 unless anybody has anything to add.
No, I mean, I would just point out a kind of a fun fact or a fun idea that I always really like to kind of think about. But Walter Benjamin, in one of my favorite essays, is a critique of violence. He's careful to point out that the existence of a border, or even like the existence of like a peace treaty, is actually an instantiation of violence, because of the fact that it is well, it's the implication, as one might say.
Right. If I came up to somebody in the street and I said, "Look, I don't want to hurt you. Please sign this document," they would think that I'm a crazy person.
Yeah.
And you can extend this to the national stage, in which, you know, any kind of peace treaty is like, "Look, I don't want to hurt you. Please sign this document."
Right.
So I can stop hurting you.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, you see it in really banal ways too, and ultimately all of this stuff ends up kind of exploding outwards in this kind of fractal pattern. But like, you have a fence with your neighbor, and there is implied violence in the fact that the property line even exists. Even if you're
Right.
not going to commit the violence, the state will on your behalf if you know they're
Trespassing.
yeah, if they're like shitty kids, peanut butter stained hands, like creep into your backyard, then you're gonna have to have a cop shoot them and their dog.
Right.
But and the same is ultimately true in the marketplace, right? Well, like it's always really funny when you listen to libertarians talk about the absolute value of like contract agreements, and it's like, okay, so nothing can be coercive. I think that's kind of naive and funny, but we should base our entire world on the idea of absolute constant mutual coercion and implied violence.
Right.
With no state to back it up, with no anything to back it up. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't necessarily have to get into like the validity of like a stateless solution or anything like that, but yeah, it's all very funny.
For sure. Yeah, no, I agree with all that. And then yeah, I believe we're on 4, right?
Yeah, I think
Yes, 4.
Yeah.
4, forms of institutionalization. These may mix traditional predispositions, legal structures, phenomena relating to custom or to fashion, such as one sees in the institution of the family. They can also take the form of an apparatus closed in upon itself with its specific loci, its own regulations, its hierarchical structures, which are carefully defined, a relative autonomy in its functioning, such as scholastic or military institutions. They can also form very complex systems endowed with multiple apparatuses, as in the case of the state, whose function is the taking of everything under its wing, the bringing into being of general surveillance, the principle of regulation, and to a certain extent also the distribution of all power relations in a given social ensemble. This is kind of actually just building up on the last thing, but saying that like part of the way nations form or states impose themselves is by saying, hey, in this general region, we've all agreed that we like democracy, right? So we're all democracy people, and we're gonna be a nation of democracy folks. Um, Other traditional things like and again, this is where he's kind of pointing out how fuzzy nations are, where traditions can cross borders all the time. Quinceañeras happen in Southern California just about every fucking day, I think. And they happen in Mexico just about every fucking day. These are primarily Mexican traditions, and then it's also worth pointing out that California used to be a part of Mexico. Texas used to be a part of Mexico. New Mexico used to be a part of Mexico. So these fuzzy definitions of of how traditions form themselves. And when we're talking about a nation like America, how do we actually form that nation without the violence of conquest to establish that border in the first place, right? Uh, there was a big old war down in the southwestern states, Mexico versus the newly formed United States, in order to create that new border. But we'll continue on with this list. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself there, I think. Number 5, the degrees of rationalization, the bringing into play of power relations as an action in a field of possibilities, may be more or less elaborate in relation to the effectiveness of the instruments and the certainty of the results. Greater or less technological refinements employed in the exercise of power, or again in proportion to the possible cost, be it in the economic cost of the means brought into operation or the cost in terms of reaction constituted by the resistance which is encountered. The exercise of power is not a naked fact, an institutional right, nor is it a structure which holds out or is smashed. It is elaborated, transformed, organized. It endows itself with processes which are more or less adjusted to the situation. He uses a lot of more or less in here, and I agree with his usage of that because there are sneaky ways that power kind of establishes itself.
Foucault's such a fucking nerd, man.
Yeah, I mean, Foucault is definitely a nerd.
Unlike me,
Mhm.
I'm
So,
a cool guy.
following this cool list, he goes on to say, one sees why the analysis of power relations within a society cannot be reduced to the study of a series of institutions, not even to the study of all those institutions which would merit the name political. Power relations are rooted in the system of social networks. This is not to say, however, that there is a primary and fundamental principle of power which dominates society down to the smallest detail, but taking as point of departure the possibility of action upon the action of others, which is coextensive with every social relationship, multiple forms of individual disparity of objectives of the given application of power over ourselves or others, of in varying degrees partial or universal institutionalization, of more or less deliberate organization. One can define different forms of power, the forms and the specific situations of the government of men by one another in a given society are multiple. They are superimposed, they cross impose their own limits, sometimes cancel one another out, sometimes reinforce one another. It is certain that in contemporary societies, the state is not simply one of the forms or specific situations of the exercise of power, even if it is the most important, but that in a certain way, all other forms of power relation must refer to it. But this is not because they are derived from it. It is rather because power relations have come more and more under state control, although the state control has not taken the same form in a pedagogical, judicial, economic, or family systems. And referring here to the restricted sense of the word government, one could say power relations have been progressively governmentalized, that is to say, elaborated, rationalized, and centralized in the form or under the auspices of state institutions. What is Foucault saying here? People don't think it be like it do, but it do. No.
Do it too.
Yeah. What Foucault is essentially saying is that, and again, this is kind of elaborating on his philosophical point that the state has no essence. The state is just an amalgamation of whatever power can be seized at any moment in time based on the preconditions of where it's being seized at and the political implications of that seizure of power. He's essentially saying the state isn't anything except for whatever it can try to be and whatever it can get away with.
That's one hell of a based superstructure, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a Marxism joke.
Yeah, I get it.
And I said the word based because I'm fucking cool.
Do we have any disagreements, agreements, additions before we move on?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it's just yeah, just fundamentally it's all just constant elaboration on everyone's kind of agreement to at least nominally share force. Yeah.
Sure.
Hell yeah.
And this is why you have some countries which have a very strong state apparatus, and then you have some countries that have a very weak state apparatus, and it's because that state apparatus has not learned how to properly capitalize on whatever movements and social arrangements exist in that country. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, more or less. That's basically what he's saying is, and America has been really peculiarly successful at this, in which you have this concept of like a nation divided, like nobody thinks that this nation is undivided in any way. I think most people think that this nation is incredibly divided. Whether or not that's necessarily true is a different matter, but there's this grand perception of things that there's the left wing, the right wing, the people who are reasonable centrists, and they're all in some kind of contention with each other, and yet at the end of the day we all consider ourselves American. And so it has nothing to do with whether or not we agree with each other. It's bizarre to me how people can identify as these things when they have nothing in common with each other, or they have lots of things in common but they refuse that commonality sometimes. We'll talk about more positive forms of patriotism and nationalism later on, but the American nationalism is incredibly bizarre because you've got lots of people who vehemently disagree with each other on fundamental principles of things. But at the end of the day, we're all still American, right? Even though some of those are like saying, leave the country if you don't like it. Another of us are saying maybe we should just like make the country better. It's a little bit bizarre that we all at the end of the day consider ourselves the same nation, even though we don't necessarily agree with each other. And this is not even like regional in some cases. Sometimes it's confined within the same region that these disagreements occur within.
Yeah, and I just want to point out really quickly that I mean you do have this ongoing like you were saying issue where people trying to improve the country or given shit for criticizing it. But I would just like to point out that my intention invariably is to make America worse.
Make America worse again. John, bad news for you. No, I'm just kidding. Let's go to the next link, which highlights in a very real way the way the border works. The Guardian's begging for money.
I do like to be that annoying black guy that every time like people go on their like nostalgia fucking jerk off sessions, like like, oh man, I wish it was back in the 60s, people dress so well.
Yeah, back in the 60s when you could beat the shit out of a black person and the cops didn't ask no questions or nothing. Really love that time of American history.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd be doing great then.
It's just cool that you were able to do all that stuff while also drinking a malt.
Yeah. Did they have 40s of Old E back in the 60s? I don't know.
No, not malt liquor. like a malted milkshake.
Oh,
Like
yes.
Get
With
it?
your
It's
best
a
gal.
joke about then the 50s and 60s being a dark and bizarre time where people would drink malts.
Right. Well, I'm gonna go out with my best gal Jenny, and we're gonna have a malt together and talk about how much we hate the beep.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, borders are weird, right? They don't necessarily make
What's up
sense
with
sometimes.
that?
What's up with borders? So this headline is from 2021, I believe. But border wall that threatened historic U.S.-Mexico Friendship Park halted. And basically, they were trying to build a border over like one of the few places that exists in America that's like, hey, Mexicans are our neighbors. And actually, a lot of people who live in this region also have family that live on the other side of this border. So Friendship Park was like this thing where like they could amicably meet with one another and maybe not be fired on by Border Patrol. And of course, the border wall project that, yeah, Trump, kick-started it real hard during his presidency. But our current president was also in favor of a border wall, like way back in the 80s and 90s. So, cool guys all around. But go ahead and scroll down to the story here.
Chris
scroll up.
Magnus. Chris Magnus.
So
Sorry, I saw that name. That's a name.
yeah, Chris
Jesus.
Magnus is a piece of shit, by the way. If you're not aware of who he is, you can look him up. Just look up Chris Magnus, piece of shit. You'll get everything you need. It's all true. I promise you. Chris Magnus is the person who lives up to his like Anglo-Saxon bullshit name. But the Biden administration. What? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just love that his name literally just means Chris Big Boy.
Yeah, right.
I love that so much.
That's exactly what I was trying to say there.
Yeah. I'm a Magnus.
Yeah. So the could you scroll up just a little bit to see? I forget which year this was. So this was August 2022.
Yeah, just zoom out a little bit.
No, don't zoom out.
And zoom in.
Wait, who signs the paychecks?
I do.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, then it's today's
Yeah.
I guess.
It's weird that you say that because your signature looks a lot like a ooh woo woo paw print.
It's a rocket ship, which I draw with a sideways 8 and a bunch of equal signs and a D at the end.
I just mushroom stamp the check.
Yeah. So I didn't realize this was as recent as it was. I thought this was from last year when I was putting all the links together, but this is from August 4th, 2022.
Nothing ever changes. Everything is the same.
Yeah. The Biden administration has agreed to pause plans for a double border wall that critics say would effectively destroy a 51-year-old oceanfront park that symbolizes friendship between the United States and Mexico.
Fuck yeah, dude. Gotta go fast.
Chris Big Boy, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner, said he wanted to hear community concerns before settling on a wall design for Friendship Park. Right? Yeah. Isn't that amazing to say out loud? I want to hear community concerns before we talk about how this wall between us is going to be built. Which then First Lady Pat Nixon inaugurated in 1971. For decades, park visitors could easily converse between San Diego and Tijuana, but access gradually diminished from the U.S. over the last 15 years. I'm sorry. When was the Trump presidency?
It was 15
It's been
years.
so long.
It was 15 years. Who was in charge of some of those years between that, like 15 years ago? Barack Obama? I don't know.
Do you think Biden ever called him B-Rock?
I hope so, man. And also, when Obama was president, people who were progressive at the time called him the deporter in chief because his border policy was more extreme than President Bush's was. By
That
the
dude
way,
loved kicking people off the
he
boat.
loved getting brown people out of this country, which is weird because he immigrated from Kenya. I'm just kidding.
If
That's
you,
a joke. That's a joke.
If you like your citizenship, you can keep it.
Yeah. If,
That joke didn't work very well.
Yeah. Well, it's more like if you like your green card, you can fuck yourself.
That's pretty good. There you go. There you go. You see,
Magnus.
I laid the groundwork,
Yeah.
and you dunked the ball. You know, because that's
That's how we work
metaphors
here
always
on the
work really
Benzo
well.
Rehab Dungeon.
Yeah.
We toss each other some easy dunks.
Yeah, not our salads though. We would never do that.
Yeah.
No.
That'd be gay.
So
Man.
Magnus, a former police chief of Tucson,
No,
Arizona.
call him by his Christian name.
Oh, sorry. Big Boy, a former police chief of Tucson, Arizona, who took office in December, ordered the pause less than a week after Friends of Friendship Park met with border patrol officials to ask for a 120-day halt to construction. Oh, by the way, the border wall is still being constructed under Biden. Liberals.
Yeah.
That's
they
really
loved
all,
the idea of
right.
a border wall before Trump came around too. Like it's
Yeah.
just it just
That's
rules.
really
It's really
where
cool.
I wanted to end the reading, just to dunk on the libs who are listening to this podcast. Lots of libs listen to this one.
I mean, plenty of rad libs, I'm sure. Oh, fuck you, listener! Eat my ass.
Ooh, got him.
Fuck my balls.
Rap horn, rap air
You're
horn.
you're not a cool the revolutionary type like I am, with Dugan as his background, wearing a little
I bet
Fox
when you
filter.
shit, you wipe your ass. Not me though. I'm a revolutionary.
Yeah, man. I just gotta say that no one could ever pass my political purity test.
Good,
but
man.
the test is just how many slurs you're able to say while making it, while still convincing me it's ironic.
Yeah. No. I'm saying that word because it's like I'm taking the power back, but for people who aren't me,
Yeah. All I'm saying, what I actually mean is that it's the only people that pass my political purity test are rappers.
So I thought it was like a 66-year-old white man who like wore like a graphic tee that had like the N word superimposed on it, but would never say the word,
Dude, that's such a yeah, that's a move. That's a cool one. I love the idea. Yeah, just getting like the F slur tattooed on your forehead and getting angry at people that say it.
What does the tattoo on my forehead say? I don't know.
Every time I look in the mirror, I remember what kind of person I really am.
Well, as the old adage goes, when you point a finger at somebody else, you got 4 pointing back at, or 3 pointing back at. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I mean, is a thumb a finger? Because
no, it's not, and it can't point backwards. Like you'd have to break your
I know.
thumb.
I was just saying
that.
that if your thumb is a finger, which fuck anyone that says the thumb's not a finger. That's such a pedantic, stupid thing.
Yeah. What are you, a fucking hand surgeon?
Were you some kind of digito professor nerd?
Some kind
face?
Of phalangist.
The thumb is actually not a finger because apes have it as well, and apes
do apes not have fingers?
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't actually know what the reasoning behind a thumb is not a finger. Like, who cares? It's on my hand. It sticks out. It gives me the ability to grasp things.
I think it's just because the people who actually rule the world are taxonomists.
Well, yeah, and the other thing is, like,
define everything.
Yeah.
Oh, Pluto's not a planet. Excuse you. Pluto identifies as a planet, and that's all we need.
I do just want to point out now that it's been gestured at with our little fingies, what a fucking amazing, hilarious word philanthropist is.
No. I don't do anything good for society. I just really like fingers.
Yeah. It's I gotta say, philanthropists can very quickly go over the line and become philanthropists, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
That's a really funny
philanthropist,
kind of therapist to be.
Yeah. Cool. Good. Great discussion.
That therapizes at your fingers.
Let's go to the next link here, which unfortunately we got to go back to this guy. This is Caleb Moppin again.
This guy looks like a day old Big Mac.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
I feel like
sucks.
every time we see him, he's like progressing further towards like dying terribly of constipation.
Yeah. He really he is cold fast food in a human body. It's really weird.
You can see like the grease like building up on him and stuff.
It's solidified.
Yeah. Oh, in the process of congealing, it exited his exterior. So yeah, Caleb Moppin again, and this is a video he has titled "How I Became a Patriotic Socialist," and the story leading up to this moment, where I've time-stamped it because we don't need to listen to 4 minutes and 11 seconds of his bullshit. Is basically he was in Iran. He was listening to the Iranian Shah give a speech, and at one point the Iranian Shah was like "Death to America," and then people started chanting "Death to America," and he started chanting "Death to America" as well. And he's like, "Fuck, I'm the only American here." And then he was like, "Wait, why should I be chanting "Death to America"? When America also does good things sometimes."
And that's why he won't vote for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna say some things that are extremely deceptive, and I don't think to preface this, I don't think Caleb is smart enough to be deceptive in the way he's being. I think he really just is this kind of dumb.
Yeah, he's just a dork. He's just a LARPer.
Yeah.
That's all. Like, yeah.
And so, his heart is sometimes in a good place. I will give him that. He has semi decent views on things like immigration. However, we're gonna see later on he still like enforces nationalism, which is like, you can't do nationalism and like being pro immigration at the same time, because the fact that you have to immigrate is, as you were saying with Walter Benjamin, like an implicit threat of violence, that if you don't do it the right way, like we'll kick you out, or we'll fuck you up, or we'll shit on your chest and send you down the river. But he's gotten over his emotional thing about the Shah in Iran, and now we can listen to him talk a little bit more, I guess. If we have to. I'm making us do this, but let's go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah, this is in fact your fault.
Yeah, it's all me.
Yeah.
Me come to the conclusion that it is our job to show the people of the United States and the people of the world that there is another America. Yes, there's the America of slavery. There's the America of war. There's the America of empire. There's the America of George W. Bush and Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Yes, that America exists. But there's also the America of John Brown and Harriet Tubman. There's also the America of the people who built the labor movement and fought for the rights of women and fought for the rights of the LGBT community. At the same time that slavery was going on, there were people rising up and protesting against it. At the same time these ugly wars that the imperialists waged happened, people were resisting, people were fighting back, and we have just as much right to call ourselves Americans as they do.
That's right.
This guy getting dizzy after speaking.
And it is a huge mistake for us to hand over the identity of
It's the grease plug that's killing him. That's what's
Yeah,
making him.
dude.
That's what's
He's-
making him dizzy. If
Yeah,
he
he's-
talks
he's
too
getting
loudly.
dizzy because he's literally transmuting into like a wet ham.
John, please continue.
a ham brined and
We have to give Caleb Maupin a fair shake, whether we like it or not.
I really I would like to suggest that we now refer to this kind of ridiculous, stupid, nationalistic pandering as ham brining.
Okay.
Man, this motherfucker's
Salt-
really ham brining.
Salt of the earth pork.
what it means to be an American, to the imperialists and the war makers. They have written us out of history. They've told us, especially since the Cold War and McCarthyism, that our whole identity is somehow tied in with free market capitalism, that this is the American way. Well, this is false, right? The first person to use the word socialism in the English language, it was first in French, but the first person to use it in the English language was Robert Owen. And Robert Owen, he was a Welsh industrialist who moved to Indiana, and he set up a socialist commune in Indiana called New Harmony. And he was invited to give a speech to a joint session of Congress explaining what socialism was. Furthermore, there was a socialist in U.S. history who actually wrote some very, very radical words back in 1892. I'm going to recite those words.
Who is this cameraman?
I don't know.
You can't.
I
Just
didn't
pan
want to. I
across
didn't
the
want to
room
comment on it, but yeah,
without refocusing the camera.
Yeah.
the camera drifts off for no reason.
And let me also point out for the listener that Caleb Maupin is wearing what I can only describe as
Church clothes.
It's worse than church clothes.
yeah.
It's like it's if you allowed your 5-year-old to dress himself for church.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Well, your 5-year-old who you only let read like Forbes.
yeah, right. But
Yeah.
the reason I say that is that it's like you can mix and match shit, I guess, and to some success. But he's wearing like I'm not looking at him right now, but based on my shitty, awful, brain dead fish head memory, he's wearing like a navy jacket that looks way too small for him, but also way too long somehow.
Right.
Like these tan khaki trousers.
Yep.
And what was it, like a powder blue shirt or something?
Yeah.
For sure, and then a
None
red
of
tie.
it fucking like it. Any two of these components would work well together, but the three of them together is a fucking mess. It's just he looks like he picked it out in the dark.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
and like my job says that one of my bosses said I should try dressing more sharply for the job that literally puts me in mud holes on a daily basis. But I guess this guy's taken seriously and can't match a jacket to pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna speak, if you're gonna be in front of people, there are only two options. You either dress like a schlub because it's like part of your, it's like your shtick. It's like
You either do the Zizek or the Peterson, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh Jesus, the Peterson. Peterson goes like so far over the edge.
I'm
Like,
wearing a tux
fucking
to the Joe
tuxedo.
Rogan show.
Right. Like you either wear a fucking t-shirt and cargo shorts, or you dress like a grown-up. But this guy's stuck in the fucking middle, and then Peterson's way off in the fucking boonies. It's wild.
Yeah.
I always hyperfixate on the way that people are dressed in like shitty suits on this podcast.
No, it's interesting because Caleb Maupin in the last episode we talked about, or we the last episode we had, one of the things he talks about in the clip that I sort of gave us. It's a little bit before where I had us cut in, but he talks about how like leftists need to start looking more professional, and then he looks like this.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. Continue, John, please.
Right now, because I have a feeling that some of you probably have heard them before. These are some very radical words from a very radical socialist. You ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Pledge of Allegiance was written by a socialist. His name was Francis Bellamy, and he was a Baptist minister in addition to being a socialist, right? Imagine that, right? He was a Baptist minister and a socialist. And he was so much of an anti-racist that when he was in Boston giving his anti-capitalist sermons, they actually banned him from preaching in the city of Boston. So he moved to Florida, where he could get away with preaching. But in Florida, he was constantly getting arrested because he refused to segregate his congregations. He refused to have blacks and whites on separate, aisles with a line between them. He refused to do it. Francis Bellamy, yeah. He was a radical, and he was a socialist, and he wrote the Pledge of Allegiance. And where did he get the words for the Pledge of Allegiance? Well, after the U.S. Civil War, in order to get your voting rights back, if you'd been a Confederate, you had to take an oath of loyalty to the country. And so he based the Pledge of Allegiance on the various loyalty oaths that Confederates were forced to take. And it's kind of funny because if you listen to the words, if you read them in that context, it's actually almost kind of funny, right? So it's like, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, one nation,
Sorry, pause
indivisible.
It, dude. This guy's fucking getting out of breath saying the Pledge of Allegiance. It's fucking amazing. I don't know. I had no idea that you were able to train a whopper to say "well." Actually, this is fucking nuts. But also, I do also want to point out, because it's going to be stuck in my head until I just fucking say it. But absolutely everyone in the audience that we've seen, because of our very generous cameraman, is they share at least 30% of their genetic code with fucking sea cucumber. Like everyone in that audience is like shit. And I'm the guy dressed up as a fox.
Yeah. Which speaking to that, Madison G in the chat says third option, dress in your fox fursuit, as a means of being professional. Yeah.
I'm actually I'm the schlubby fox though, because I'm wearing a hoodie.
Yeah,
I'm like
schlubby hoodie fox. Yeah,
I'm a tech entrepreneur that yiffs.
A tech entrepreneur that's invested in something called Dugan Coin. We don't know what it does, but we're pretty sure it's funding war crimes.
With liberty, no slaves, and justice, no slaves for all. I mean, it's kind of, it's like, twisting someone's arm. Say uncle, it's kind of how the Pledge of Allegiance reads. It's kind of funny like that. But Francis Bellamy, his cousin was Edward Bellamy, who was a socialist who actually wrote a novel called Looking Backward, which was a best-selling science fiction novel in 1880.
Such sad eyes he has.
Yeah, we actually don't need to listen to this anymore, because what Caleb Maupin is doing here, and I don't think it's intentional because he's too stupid to do it. And yeah, we can look at the next link, which is his tweets. Here's another reason to be a patriotic socialist. Nobody respects you if you hate your own people and country around the world. Even in many in many countries where USA is hated, people will see you hating your homeland as a sign of being unwell, out of touch, and not a good person. Go ahead and go to the next link where we see another tweet of Caleb Maupin.
Also, really quickly, while it's still kind of fresh, he was mentioning this book Looking Backward. But what if you ended up writing a history of American slavery and you called it Looking Blackward? What do you think?
Revolutionary concept.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this other tweet of sorry.
Thank you very much.
I was looking at the chat real quick. This other tweet of Caleb T. Maupin. Can anyone ever argue the socialist patriotism without a straw man? Seriously, I get it. You are so super revolutionary. America is racist. Blah blah blah. We are all so impressed. Can you argue against what we are actually saying, please? So in his little diatribe, his little speech, his little khaki tan pants wearing powder blue shirt, navy blue blazer speech, he talks about what about the other kinds of American politics, which are John Brown and Harriet Tubman and all these other people. What he fails to leave out, or what he fails to include in that little diatribe, is that none of these people really considered themselves like American patriots at any point.
Yeah, probably
Um,
not.
they
It's also
were
funny that he's mentioning John Brown and Tubman, and then in this tweet he's like, "We get it. You think America's racist?"
right. Yeah. No. Exactly. There's so much like moving around of what things mean and what things actually like relate to each other in. That it's amazing that he comes to this conclusion that we should all be patriotic because, what about like the good Americans that have happened, and none of these Americans that are good that he's talking about are like exclusively patriotic to America. Harriet Tubman, I think, would probably consider herself some kind of internationalist. I think John Brown would at some point probably consider himself an internationalist person. Most of the people who were involved in uh, the Communist Party of the South that emerged, and I know this because I've read books.
Oh shit.
They considered themselves internationalists, not nationalists. So when he says, "What about the positive aspects of this American national sort of grouping of people?" Well, none of them considered themselves like exclusively American or exclusively like patriotic in any way whatsoever. They weren't doing it because they loved America. They were doing it because they had a broader perspective of who people are and what groups they belong to and how we should actually orient society. So
Yeah.
so what he's doing here is he's lying because he's dumb as shit.
Right. There's also, just a couple of points, which would be that number one, nations aren't static. So even
Yeah.
if fucking John Brown was a fucking flag waving, suck my dick, I'm America guy,
Which he wasn't, and during
which
that
he
time,
wasn't, but even if he
during that time,
was,
America would have had 13 stars, right?
right. But yeah, even if he was, it would say absolutely nothing about any kind of like prescriptive patriotism now. But I would also point out that there's probably I don't know, he might want to look into this series of like 5 internationals
Yeah.
that happened. Maybe there's a model there for the communism he seems to think he loves so much.
And that's what's so kind of like ultimate why I brought him up again is he's done these what is it, the Center for Political Innovation like meetups, right? He's done one in Austin, he's done one up shit, I think it was Chicago or something like that now. um but at both of these little events, he's played the Internationale, and he's held up the communist flag right next to the American flag. um and you really have to wonder, like, what is this guy even fucking thinking at this point, where he's gonna play the Internationale, he's going to call himself a nationalist Bolshevik, he's going to be a patriotic socialist, also was another thing that he ascribes to himself. um
It's like saying something edgy, but your parents are in the crowd, so you end up couching it in
right,
like,
it's
but I
like
love America.
it's like a meme that I've been seeing going around lately, which is it's like reading the anarchist cookbook. When you could just read the like improvised munitions handbook, which which yeah, maybe belongs to something that you don't necessarily like, but it's more successful and it does more what you want it to do in the first place. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's so confused in everything he does, and he really does not even understand what he's saying a lot of times, I think. Because he calls Harriet Tubman an American patriot, and it's like, I don't think that's what Harriet Tubman's mindset was, honestly. I'm pretty sure Harriet Tubman was like, yeah, fuck America, I'm gonna get these slaves to a better place, whatever I can do.
Yeah, like acting like Harriet Tubman didn't enter the Union like she was negotiating with a foreign country that might be hostile towards her.
Right, exactly. Or John Brown, who was explicitly like anti whatever America stood for, because America was like a corrupt, horrible thing that enslaved people. To the point where he attacked Americans.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I'm so patriotic.
yeah, I'm so patriotic. I'm American. And it has nothing to do with being American. It has something to do with being international and having an international mindset.
I mean, the most patriotic thing you can do as an American, which Tubman and Brown both did, is to murder a lot of Americans.
That's true. Yeah. So from Caleb Maupin, we're gonna move into Emma Goldman, but before we do that, the prescribed PP break has to happen because I'm a
hell yes,
I'm a little boy
I
who
fucking
drank a bunch
love
of water.
the PP break.
Yeah. The listener gets to experience the intermission music now, I guess. I don't know. And
I gotta say though, it's pretty wild though. It's pretty wild that you break for pee, but you can't really break a fluid, can you? Like that's something you do to solids.
It's really deep.
Like, you could take a poop break for sure, depending on the type of stool
I'm going to start the pee break music, but
give me a break.
I hope you have fun with
the pee flow, the pee continuum.
Yeah, the piss continuum.
All right, I gotta go do it.
Damn, am I the only one back after that cool fucking musical pee break? I guess so. That sucks because I'm not very entertaining on my own. Maybe I'll look at the comments. Luke says, an EG of evolving sovereignty is Gmail account like a virtual birth certificate, making a completely corporate sovereignty. Still only in virtuality until Google owns some infrastructural service IRL. Then the certifying power of state sovereignty will be and already is shared a little bit. Yeah.
Shut up, nerd.
Yeah, Luke's a big old nerd, and we hate his podcast that's coming out soon. I don't know if it's out yet, actually.
Man, my audio is all weird. It's going crazy.
So we're not gonna swat Luke's podcast, right?
Well, the SWAT doesn't exist in Australia, so
Oh shit.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to drone strike him.
Exactly. We're gonna have to call in some different favors, which I have access to because I am a psyop and I'm part of the CIA.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Oh
Poop Man's
man,
back
they
on the
can't hear us
screen.
right, so I can get back to saying that word that I love.
No, we're on. We've
Oh,
been on the whole
fuck.
time. Yeah.
Oh god damn it! Shit! Fuck!
We
Oh,
were
gosh.
actually on before you came back, and it was really weird
Oh,
because
my
I had to
God.
talk to myself.
Oh my god!
Uh,
Yeah, so they know everything, don't they?
They do know everything. Yeah.
That's cool. I feel very vulnerable, and it's kind of erotic.
Oh
Frankly.
yeah, I was gonna say arousing, perhaps.
Yeah, like I feel like my bare belly is exposed, and they're
the softest hole of your body, which is your belly button.
And there are at least like a dozen people that are like potentially able to like look at and pet my soft underbelly.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So,
and they will.
Old Moppy boy here. I hope he's
The
he's okay
mobster.
with me calling himself that. Yeah, the moppiest boy. Applying chapstick to my lips because they got dried out in the hot sun today.
Yeah, they're looking moist now, man. They're looking good. They're looking moppy, honestly.
Ooh, no, that's not good. He's got such a hairline lip because he's white as fuck. He's just so white.
Yeah.
Anyways,
as the resident white guy on the podcast, I will say that he's got some shitty lips even for a white guy.
Yeah,
but I do have beautiful lips.
So
God, I have such beautiful lips.
Old Caleb T.
Fox,
Mop in here loves patriotism. He thinks patriotism can be good. I think I would disagree with that because, as we talked about earlier, so patriotism is in support of nationalism, and patriotism is like emphatic support of nationalism. I think we could probably all agree to that to some extent. And nationalism is built off of like just kind of like otherizing people on arbitrary means. The enforcement of a state power that's like, hey, sign this paper so I don't kill you. It's implied violence, and patriotism is being like, yeah, I love this notion of implied violence that we've established, more or less. I will give Caleb Maupin some credit that he really doesn't deserve, but I'm just gonna give it to him anyways. And that sometimes he does say kind of like okay things about like how nationalism should be, where we shouldn't be like anti-immigration or anything like that, but he's still very much in favor of an immigration process So it's like, yeah, you almost got it, but at the same time, you're like still enforcing some kind of notion of state violence.
Yeah, if you believe in a border, you're not progressive enough about immigration, frankly.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
But-
And I'm glad that we agree on this sort of thing, because
It-
I kind of had you pegged for somebody who really likes strong borders, and
I do. Well, I do. I'm just like I hate immigration. Also, again, as the
I
as
like
the
strong
resident
borders,
white
but only on a
Uh,
geographic level, not a
guy, I
political
like
one.
mountains and rivers.
Yeah.
But if Caleb Maupin decided randomly to become like a huge Mishima guy, I would think that would actually rule. I would be in support of that. I would in fact also be willing to like live stream at his coup d'etat. I
Right,
think
for
that would
sure, yeah.
rule.
So challenge
The
to
only
Caleb T.
patriotism
Maupin, do a coup d'etat.
Is his middle name, does it start with a T, or do you just keep throwing that in there?
I mean, we're looking at a tweet of his, and it says Caleb T.
Oh.
Maupin.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I just I wasn't sure if you were just
What do
being
you think
funny
the T
because it
stands
makes him
for?
sound like
Probably
such a fucking
Trevor or
nerd.
some bullshit.
Theodore.
Caleb Theodore Maupin. Yeah, probably.
Caleb Teddy Maupin
Ooh.
is named after Teddy Roosevelt, the most socialist ever.
I was thinking he was named after Teddy K, the regular contributor on this show for Russian
Oh
history.
yeah, you mean the Unabomber?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Same guy. Let's go ahead and go to
never
the
caught him.
next link, which is I'm gonna read you guys the essay "What is Patriotism?" It's very short by Emma
Man, this
Goldman.
guy keeps reading to us. It's fucking sweet. It's bedtime for
Yeah.
the
Well,
listener.
I mean,
just tuck
the-
yourself in, listen to the smooth sounds of
this is one of
Michael
the
Deebs.
first times I've done like philosophical investigation into what I'm talking about. So I'm doing my best here.
You got to make sure you're doing it real erotic though. It's like men
Yeah.
and women.
As
What
as
is
Emma Goldman
patriotism?
would be erotic.
Is it love of one's birthplace? The place of childhood's
So-
recollections and hopes, dreams.
To
and
shut Dorco up,
aspirations.
and also preface this article. This article was written in April 26, 1908. Or I guess essay, not article, but neither here nor there, I guess. One note that I would like you to keep in mind as the viewer, the listener, or whatever, is when Emma Goldman talks in terms of hundreds of thousands of dollars, the earliest inflation calculator I could get was 1913. So 5 years after she wrote this article or essay. And at the point of 1913, $100,000 to now is roughly $3 million.
Hell
Jesus.
So when she references however many hundreds of thousands of dollars are being spent on something, she's talking about $3 million each. So
Jesus.
just something I want to throw out there. Emma Goldman, April 26, 1908. What is patriotism? Men and women, what is patriotism? Is it love of one's birthplace, the place of childhood's recollections and hopes, dreams and aspirations? Is it the place where, in childlike naivety, we would watch the passing clouds and wonder why we, too, could not float so swiftly? The place where we could count the myriad glittering stars, the terror-stricken lest each one an eye should be, piercing the very depths of our little souls? Is it the place where we would listen to the music of the birds and long to have wings to fly, even as they, to distant lands? Or is it the place where we would sit on mother's knee, enraptured by tales of great deeds and conquests? In short, is it love for the spot, every inch representing dear and precious recollections of a happy, joyous, and playful childhood? If that were patriotism, few American men of today would be called upon to be patriotic, since the place of play has been turned into factory, mill, and mine, while deepening sounds of machinery have replaced the music of the birds. No longer can we hear the tales of great deeds, for the stories of our mothers tell today but those of sorrow, tears, and grief. What then is patriotism? Patriotism, sir, is the last resort of scoundrels, said Dr. Samuel Johnson. Leo Tolstoy, the greatest anti-patriot of our time, defines patriotism as the principle that will justify the training of wholesale murderers, a trade that requires better equipment in the exercise of man-killing than the making of such necessities as shoes, clothing, and houses, a trade that guarantees better returns and greater glory than that of the honest working man. Indeed, conceit, arrogance, and egotism are the essentials of patriotism. Let me illustrate. Patriotism assumes that our globe is divided into little spots, each one surrounded by an iron gate. Those who have had the fortune of being born on some particular spot consider themselves nobler, better, grander, more intelligent than those living beings inhabiting any other spot. It is therefore the duty of everyone living on that chosen spot to fight, kill, and die in the attempt to impose his superiority upon all the others. The inhabitants of the other spots reason in like manner, of course, with the result that from early infancy the mind of the child is provided with blood-curdling stories about the Germans, the French, the Italians, Russians, etc. When the child has reached manhood, he is thoroughly saturated with the belief that he is chosen by the Lord himself to defend his country against the attack or invasion of any foreigner. It is for that purpose that we are clamoring for a greater army and navy, more battleships and ammunition. An army and navy represent the people's toys to make them more attractive and acceptable. Hundreds and thousands of dollars. And reminder, 100,000 at this point is 3 million for today.
Yeah, which is a pretty cheap bill for the military these days.
Right, yeah. Hundreds and thousands of dollars are being spent for the display of toys. That was the purpose of the American government in equipping a fleet and sending it along the Pacific coast, that every American citizen should be made to feel the pride and glory of the United States. The city of San Francisco spent $100,000 for the entertainment of the fleet. Los Angeles, $60,000. Seattle and Tacoma, about $100,000. Yes, $260,000 were spent on fireworks, theater parties, and revelries at a time when men, women, and children through the breadth and length of the country were starving in the streets, when thousands of unemployed were ready to sell their labor at any price. What could not have been accomplished with such an enormous sum? But instead of bread and shelter, the children of those cities were taken to see the fleet, that it may remain, as one newspaper said, a lasting memory for the child. A wonderful thing to remember, is it not? The implements of civilized slaughter. If the mind of the child is poisoned with such memories, what hope is there for a true realization of human brotherhood? We Americans claim to be a peace-loving people. We hate bloodshed. We are opposed to violence. Yet we go into spasms of joy over the possibility of projecting dynamite bombs from flying machines upon helpless citizens. We are ready to hang, electrocute, or lynch anyone who, from economic necessity, will risk his own life in the attempt upon that of some industrial magnate. Yet our hearts swell with pride at the thought that America is becoming the most powerful nation on earth, and that she will eventually plant her iron foot on the necks of all other nations. Such is the logic of patriotism. Thinking men and women the world over are beginning to realize that patriotism is too narrow and limited a conception to meet the necessities of our time. The centralization of power has brought into being an international feeling of solidarity among the oppressed nations of the world, a solidarity which represents a greater harmony of interest between the working man of America and his brothers abroad, between the American miner and his exploiting compatriot. A solidarity which fears not foreign invasion, because it is bringing all the workers to the point when they will say to their masters, "Go and do your own killing, we have done it long enough for you." The proletariat of Europe has realized the great force of that solidarity and has, as a result, inaugurated a war against patriotism and its bloody specter, militarism. Thousands of men fill the prisons of France, Germany, Russia, and the Scandinavian countries because they dared to defy the ancient superstition. America will have to follow suit. The spirit of militarism has already permeated all walks of life. Indeed, I am convinced that militarism is a greater danger here than anywhere else because of the many bribes capitalism holds out to those whom it wishes to destroy. The beginning has already been made in the schools of children. The beginning has already been made. In the schools, children are trained in military tactics, the glory of military achievements extolled in the curriculum, and the youthful mind perverted to suit the government. Further, the youth of the country is appealed to in glaring posters to join the army and navy. A fine chance to see the world, cries the governmental huckster. Thus, innocent boys are morally shanghaied into patriotism, and the military Moloch strides conquering through the nation. Scroll down, John.
I was moving my hand. Gosh.
When we have undermined the patriotic lie, we shall have cleared the path for the great structure where all shall be united into a universal brotherhood, a truly free society. Finn, thoughts and feelings about that are welcome at this point.
It's just kind of a
Queen
surreal,
going off. Yeah.
This lady, you know, like she's, you know, writing a very pointed letter, but and she's very upset, which she should be. But you think that she'd be like throwing Molotovs into federal buildings if she like lived today? Maybe. It's like just dynamite on poor countries, you know, like if only we were doing that.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I mean, Emma Goldman is a true OG.
Yeah, I mean, Goldman did have opinions about revolutionary violence and like political assassination. So,
yeah,
I mean,
Oh,
I mean, both.
which we don't condone here necessarily. Wink.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about me is that I don't have any beliefs or opinions on anything. So
yeah, same.
Yeah.
I'm just here to entertain folks.
I mean, it's the
Little foxy
best way
guy.
to stay happy.
Yeah. Nihilism, the only way to stay happy. Hell yeah. Yeah, she's got a big dick, I gotta say it.
Yeah, so you know, going back to Caleb Maupin, who, you know,
who would mop the floor with Goldman, you know what I'm saying?
No,
he's way cooler than she
opposite.
was. And his politics are better.
Reading Emma Goldman right after Caleb Maupin is like casting pearls before swine.
Because he's
Emma Goldman is the pearls, I guess. I don't know. I would also encourage people to read her greater bodies of work. Very, very good writer, very influential to anarchism, and maybe seeing anarchism as less of just like shitting on the floor and not wanting to wipe it up, but like a greater political movement.
Damn, dude, if you like her so much, why don't you marry her?
Yeah.
She's dead.
Oh.
She wrote this essay in 1908, which is at least 80 years before I was born. Yeah. I actually don't remember what the next link is because my notes end here. But I assume it follows in suit to what we're talking about. Yeah, so let's talk about some positive aspects of nationalist movements that could occur. And while we're talking about these, maybe remind ourselves that all of these nationalist movements are liberation movements against oppressors, right? So what we have,
there's generally a tendency for a lot of these. I'm assuming what you're going to be going over, but that these nationalist movements have a tendency to become internationalist very, very quickly, out of necessity and otherwise.
Yeah, so we have the Free Palestine movement. Palestine is a nation, but it is a nation that is in a context of being oppressed by Israel, right? We
probably,
yeah. Jury's maybe out on that one still. But this is an instance where there can be a positive nationalism, but that nationalism is actually a internationalist movement, which again, going back to Caleb Maupin, when he talks about all these positive, Americans, these American patriots that he kind of lays out with like Harriet Tubman and John Brown and that sort of thing, these are actually internationalists. And so what he's doing is he's incorrectly attributing something to them that they don't actually belong to. They're not patriots to their nation, they're internationalists, and they believe that, all people have this right to themselves, and that's more what they're interested in upholding than anything else. And so the Free Palestine movement is about that sort of thing where Palestinians deserve the rights that should be granted to them as just human beings living in an area. I don't know if Dorko, before we go on to another example, you want to add anything on? So
No, I think that's good, and I'm sorry because I'm like laughing to myself because my not to throw you off track, but all I can think of is the joke Harriet Tub Girl.
Yeah, that's rough. The underground fail road, am I right?
Man, I become dumber with every fucking passing second. I'm sorry. No, but
yeah, no, it's good.
You're good.
All right, cool. Another good thing we could look at the next link. Something like Burkina Faso and Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara, for like against all odds, becomes the leader of this like defunct African nation. Manages to like reconstitute it into something, and so this African nation is kind of like more or less under French jurisdiction, which is bad because France doesn't belong in Africa in this way, and it's just like oppression that's happening.
I mean, it's pretty racist.
Yeah, it's fucked up. France is like the original imperial force.
Oh, I was saying for you to say that French people don't belong in Africa.
Yeah, no, they don't. I'll die saying that.
It's yeah, like everyone, you always have that anti-Semitic trope that the Jews are behind all of the wars, which which would only be an accurate statement if you replace the word Jews with the French.
Am I anti-Gaulian? Is that what I'm doing here? Anti-Gaulian rhetoric.
Uh-huh.
He leads a nation into opposing the oppressors that they belong to. He brings shit tons of people out of poverty under this. He does a lot for women's rights while he's doing this. This is a based individual.
But he
I think
pissed
we can
off
all...
the Dulles brothers because
Right.
he had too big of a dick. And
He
shut
angers
fuck
the
up.
wrong people internationally, and France just kills him. So,
I mean,
and
France and the CIA, like,
well,
they
yeah, but like,
had a huge amount to do with it. Sorry, I just read that fucking book, The Brothers. Check it out, The Brothers.
yeah, I actually do want to check that book out as well after you talk to me about it, or talk to a group chat that I'm in about it. Whatever.
Oh,
But yeah, so there can be positive nationalist movements, but a lot of these nationalist movements also have a strong internationalist element, and so that's what the NazBols are missing out on by saying, "Oh, we need to be patriots for our nations." Well, no, you don't, because your nation, first off, doesn't actually like exist the way that you think it does, and secondly, being a patriot means that you just like, I don't know, ascribe to shitty values in general.
yeah. Here's maybe a salient way of kind of building a rule of thumb, which is that if your country is strong enough to afford nationalism without international kind of support, then you're just going to become fascists.
Yeah.
And if your country is not strong enough to do that, then it needs to be internationalist anyway in order to keep itself alive.
Right.
Because they're fascists.
And this is why, in like the American Revolution, like a lot of socialist countries were like, hell yeah, America's doing something cool right now because they're pushing back their oppressors. They're using international support to do it. And then it's like, fuck, they just did a different kind of imperialism afterwards. A lot of communist thinkers like really put a lot of stock into what America was doing early on during the revolution, and then we're like, shit, no, they just like did a different kind of shitty bad thing. So yeah, I guess where I'd like to end this, and what I would posit as maybe a thesis to what I'm trying to say here is don't believe in nations and don't be a patriot for a nation, because working people have more in common beyond all borders, and most pointedly at those border points have more in common with each other than the people that are running the institutions we belong to. When you become a patriot to the idea of a nation, what you're doing is you are implicitly endorsing violence against other people, because the maintenance of what is considered a nation kind of explicitly requires an outside group, and that outside group is everybody else in the world that doesn't belong to wherever you've drawn your borders. And so, I don't think somebody like Caleb Maupin necessarily has ill intent. I think he's just too stupid to realize what he's doing. And we should have a little sympathy for him, but we should also make sure we tell him he's a dumbass fuck.
Hell yeah.
Dumb.
That's my thesis statement for this episode.
Yeah, it works. Also,
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Mopping's a dumb fuck.
Mopping's
There-
a dumb fuck.
there's 3
NazBols
more
are
links,
dumb
though.
shits. There are 3 more links. Yeah, we'll get to those. They don't have anything
God
to do
damn
with
it.
National
Fuck.
Bolshevism. But yeah, no, I just wanted to like open the floor up to any kind of like extra comments or if any of you guys have any like sage wisdom you'd like to depart on everybody.
I would first off just like to apologize for bringing Harriet Tubgirl into the existence.
Hey, you don't have to apologize for that.
And
It's actually what I'm putting in my OpenAI immedially after we leave.
I
this is,
told you I
Harriet
won't do
Tubman.
porn, only racism. So it'll
Yeah,
get
I
you
know.
halfway there.
I'm just gonna get a bunch of KKK flags, like a tub girl shitting the bars and stripes or something.
I got
That's
so
not a
many
good
jokes I'm not
visual.
gonna make right now. But no, I think we've covered things pretty well.
Good.
For a group of fucking dumb guys that shouldn't have anyone listen to them because they're evil and problematic and stupid and bad. and
Agreeing with you
stinky.
less as you go on, but go on.
Yeah. Well, it's the stinky thing. I
Yeah.
think that really gets in the way. But
I took a
thankfully,
shower
you can
before this.
generally you can generally get away with stinkiness on a podcast. Generally. But,
People do it a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll have some really salient thoughts after our next 3 links, though.
Cool. So our next 3 links are just different points of a Jordan Peterson video.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely have way smarter
Yeah.
thoughts after this.
We won't start it quite yet. Jordan Peterson is on some shit right now. And I think,
Benzos. They're called
yeah, I think the
benzos.
shit is benzos, right? He's losing his fucking mind.
Hell yeah.
So we'll listen to the next 3 links are just different points in this video that I wanted to highlight. And I'll tell John when to stop and go to the next link. Because we don't want to listen to 26 minutes of Jordan Peterson talk, right?
Oh Lord, no.
Yeah, God no.
Let me just draw out a beautiful image for you though, because yeah, it's really working well for me. But you know that movie A Beautiful Mind,
Right, where the mathematician goes crazy.
yes,
Yeah.
schizo
Yeah.
mathematician. I really hope after Jordan Peterson's been dead for 30 years that they end up making making A Beautiful Mind kind of thing about him, where he's like, you just, for some reason, there's this big pane of glass that he's like drawing diagrams on, and it's just like trying to figure out where to put the cum encrusted sock that's like
Yeah.
stowed under the bed in some shitty kid's
I
bedroom,
have a
as he slowly goes insane and like screams at his wife and smashes a glass with his hand.
Harry, you fuck. I have a suggestion for the title of this movie,
A Beautiful Mind.
which is a hierarchical mind.
Oh.
Ooh,
Hell
deep
yeah.
cuts. John, go ahead and play the first little bit of this. I'll tell you when to
Crustacean
stop.
mind.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to read
Oh,
to you today a piece I wrote for The Telegraph
Oh, no.
in the UK.
Oh,
I'm reading it because sometimes, rather than speaking spontaneously, it's necessary for me to craft my words with as much care as I can manage, especially when dealing with things that are pushing the limits of my conceptual ability, let's say. Writing is the deepest form of
way to
thinking,
sell
and
yourself out, you piece of
sometimes I
shit.
need to rely on it. And so that's why I'm reading it. Now, the next issue is how I'm going to read it. So
brain damage.
I've written a number of these news pieces, let's say, commentaries recently, and people have objected, some people have objected to my tone. I'm often dealing with things that I would say frighten me to take on to some degree. They're big issues and they're contentious. And so a handy source of impetus and power, I mean, motive power in such situations is to harness a certain degree of outrage and anger. That also fuels my spirit, I suppose, in some sense, when I'm writing these articles. It would be easier in many ways just to sit on the couch and read a Stephen King novel, but I have to get up the energy. And maybe I do that by relying to an untenable degree on wrath, which is a cardinal sin in some regards. Now, it's not like there's not things that are worth being irritable about. But I thought what I would do today as an experiment is to attempt to read this in the most calm and understanding
Can you pause
manner
real quick?
that I can, despite its
The
Okay.
worst performance artist. Is this
Yeah.
a piece of shit?
I rely on wrath too much, and blah blah blah, etc. etc. He talks about being calm. Wait until you see this like drop that happens. So you know, he's talking about being calm, rational, more cordial about things. There's gonna be a drop that happens. It's gonna be like, wait, what the fuck? John, when it goes to the black screen with the words, just go ahead and pause it there. But continue.
Black screen with words.
Yeah, you'll know it when you see it.
rather pointed message. And so I'm trying to get the tone right, you know, and I'm paying attention to the feedback I'm getting from friend and foe alike, let's say, and modifying my approach as a consequence. And so this is an attempt to modify it yet again in the hopes of attaining something better. And here we go.
There you go. So his attempt to be rational, calm, and adjusting his tone is, "Back off, oh masters of the universe."
Back off, oh, master.
Yeah. So you can go ahead and go to the next link, which is just a time-stamped version of this video. This is part of his like rational, more tonally conscious version of what he's talking about. He's gone through a bunch of lies about what like climate change is. He correctly points out like the Economic World Forum is not going to fix climate change. Yeah, we know that. Everybody who actually cares about climate change knows that, and we've been calling them out for like years or a decade at least. But the way that he's saying that they're not going to fix things is like, oh, you're the masters of the universe now. You know everything. You know how temperatures are going to rise. All you have is data, and data is just something that you can lie with, and you're doing evil arithmetic. People may think that I'm like aggrandizing the things he says. Watch the video in full. This is almost exactly what he's saying. He thinks people who believe in climate change are doing evil math.
Hell yeah.
Which I don't.
I mean, the IMF is made of evil math, but
Yeah,
climate change, that's
for
a different
sure.
thing.
But yeah, it's like the only good math that they do is climate change. But here Peterson is imagining a world in which the aims of the climate change globalists have been achieved, and here's how he talks to them. It's very bizarre.
He's being very calm about it.
Yeah,
Remind
and he's going to be extremely calm here.
Critics of my view will say,
Oh.
we have to accept limits to growth. Fine, accept them. Personally, abandon your position of planet-devouring wealthy privilege. Join an ascetic order. Graze with the cattle. Or, if that's too much, and it probably is, then purchase an electric car, if you want one. But no diesel-powered emergency backup vehicle or electric-powered generator for you. Buy some stock in Tesla. That's probably the best bet on that front. But you don't approve of the likes of Elon Musk, do you? Stop flying. Stop driving, for that matter. Get on your bike instead in your three-piece business suit. In the winter, if you dare, I'll splash you with icy and salty slush as I drive by in my evil but warm Ford Bronco SUV and help you derive the consequent delicate pleasure of your own narcissistic martyrdom. Save the planet with your own choices. But quit demanding that the rest of us blindly follow your diktats. Quit demonizing and castigating us merely because we don't just happen.
Are they diktats? Like what?
Yeah,
I mean,
I actually have a quarter of a ruler tatted on my dick.
So I looked it up. Diktats is a real word, but it's like you
Shut
can
up,
say
nerd.
dictates, and people actually understand it. But I mean, through the video, he says like a lot of really weird words.
Yeah.
And he pronounces
fucking
them
nerd.
like
He's just a
extremely
fucking-
weird as well. And I think it's like him trying to establish himself as like, I'm so smart, I say words different than you might imagine words should be said. But yeah, he's really going off on one here, and we're not done with this particular clip that I wanted to watch. But
So, what do you think Jordan Peterson's dick tat is? I think he has two of them. I think on the top of his dick, it's like the Last Supper. And then like on the bottom of the dick where it meets the balls, it's a lobster's cloaca or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
think
know
that's
if
a good
lobsters
guess.
have cloacas, but
Well,
but-
whatever passes for their genitals.
But I will say, after seeing Jordan's genitals many times, that I know for a fact that he has the hero's journey tattooed around his butthole, and actually right above his dick on his pubic mound, he has his grandmother's hairbrush tattooed, combing through his pubes.
Yeah. It is very soft, grandmother.
It's very soft. Oh, yeah.
Continue playing, John.
Happily cede to you all the extant power. We're not evil just because we don't believe that you are omniscient. We're not evil just because we don't want you to assume omnipotence and omnipresence too. There is simply no pathway forward to the green and equitable utopia that necessitates the further impoverishment of the already poor.
All right.
The compulsion
So
of
you
the
can
work-
go ahead and pause here. Basically, what he's saying is that any kind of green energy solution is actually going to just kill poor people in third nations.
What we all know to be true is that whenever climate catastrophes occur, they in fact harm the poor the least.
Yeah. He also, interestingly enough, says that the real actual solution to climate change, which he doesn't believe in, mind you, but he still
Fine,
posits
Tesla.
this. He still posits this as like a solution to climate change, even though his entire 23 minutes before he says this is I don't believe in climate change and all of your models are wrong. Mind you, the only ways that the models are wrong is that we thought it would be less severe. It turns out every time the models are wrong, it's like, oh, it's actually worse than we thought it was going to be.
It's much worse.
Yeah. Turns out that global climate change is like even worse than we thought it was going to be based off like the computer models we had. And so when Jordan Peterson says, and he keeps saying this a lot all the time recently, is that like all these climate change scientists have been wrong. Well, yeah, they've been wrong in like underestimating how bad it's going to get. that's something he leaves out of all of his little diatribes and speeches, is that climate change is actually turning out to be much worse than we thought it was going to be. So that's something he leaves out all the time. And then he goes on to say, like, between the last clip we looked at and now, that really, like, the free market solution is like the only thing that can fix this, because the free market has like a self-preservation model about it. And so
Yeah,
the
that's-
free market
that's
would
what I know
never
about
do
the free
anything
market.
that destroys itself, right? Yeah, go
No.
on.
No, yeah. Yeah, bro.
All right, so go ahead and go to the last link, John, where he expands on this even more, and looks like the shittiest fucking. Maybe refresh this page because it's not loading.
Stop flying. Whoop. If
He
you
looks like
do
he's
have
about to be like,
fly,
whoop.
if you do have to fly your aeroplane, hijack it, and
Yeah.
fly it into the nearest financial institution. that you- International finance is the only thing standing in your way.
Yeah, and mind you, like this entire video is about international finance institutions making declarations about global climate change. Jordan Peterson is the hierarchy free market guy. These international institutions of like market capital have established themselves through the freest market that they can possibly like get themselves. I mean, we're going back to Foucault here, where whatever advantage you can take, you can take when you're a free market institution. So it's bizarre that he's saying like, oh, the Deloitte company, the company that he brings up in the video, the Deloitte company is running the narrative on climate change. Well, there's a hierarchy. Don't you like hierarchies? Not when they're woke hierarchies, I guess, is where he's trying to land.
Yeah, he
But,
doesn't like corrupt hierarchies because he can just be the automatic determiner of what which ones
Right.
those
So
are.
so when a group has power and they use that power to something you don't like, now they're bad power. Which almost maybe makes the argument that we shouldn't allow people to have the power in this way. Yeah. Bizarre. But continue. And we're gonna get ads in 4 seconds, John, because you don't log into the pot.
I am logged in.
Yeah, no, I stopped myself because I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I took my eyes from the ads in the bottom right and I looked up and I was like, ah shit, he's got me here.
Yeah, write yourself up for once.
No.
Wait, so the Benzo Rehab did our premium subscription lapse?
No, I reinstated it.
Well, looks like you're not on YouTube Premium, pal.
Yeah,
Do I have to change to it?
You
nah.
you
Just
cucks.
just run it.
No, just play it.
just
Who
fucking
fucking
go.
we'll
remain
bicker.
unconvinced that you're frightened and
Thinking about going solar, but not sure whether it's worth it for your home? Well, before you get your quotes,
celebratory moralizing and intellectual pretension, ignorance of the limits of statistics, and misuse of arithmetic.
Misuse of arithmetic.
We do not believe, finally, and most absolutely, that your declared emergency and the panic you sow because of it means that you should now be ceded all necessary authority. So, leave us alone, you centralizers of power, you worshippers of Gaia, you sacrificers of the wealth and property of others, you would-be planetary saviors, you Machiavellian pretenders and virtue signalers, objecting to power, all the while you gathered around you madly. Leave us alone, to prosper or not, as a result of our own choices, as a result of our own actions, in the exercise of our own requisite and irreducible responsibility. Leave us alone, or reap the whirlwind, and watch the terrible destruction of what you purport to save in consequence.
Oh, I thought he was gonna like threaten to unleash the private militaries or something like that.
No, he doesn't have that much power. Basically what he's saying is if you tell us not to burn coal anymore, we're gonna piss our pants. He really has nothing here. He's trying to really cement himself as a right-wing figurehead. And like, I mean, how can you listen to that warbly, effeminate voice and like take him as a right-wing figurehead? I don't know.
Yeah, increasingly I'm just discovering that my politics actually just boil down to whether or not the person I'm listening to is a fucking dork ass nerd or not.
For
It's
sure.
like,
Yeah. And Jordan
this person
Peterson
seem like
is
a
a
person?
dork ass.
No?
Yeah. And Jordan Peterson is like the ultimate dork ass nerd. And it's amazing that people still take him as some kind of like influence on their masculinity. I don't even care about masculinity myself as like a construct, but it's you know, he purports himself as you know, somebody who can talk about masculinity in the traditional sense. And he's this guy who's just like, oh, you worshippers of Gaia, you would-be planetary saviors.
Just listing
Like,
off a
who
bunch
the
of dope
fuck
things.
talks like that, you fucking dork-ass piece of shit? Stop, right? Like, fucking...
You big
Don't-
dick soldiers of God.
Yes, exactly.
Glorious son of a bitch.
So yeah, that was the palate cleanser for tonight, actually. I don't know how
Dude, I feel
well I
so cleansed.
transitioned into that, but you know. So anyways, nationalism probably bad. Patriotism based on nationalism probably bad. Jordan Peterson's a weird little guy who shouldn't be listened to. Do we have anything else to add to this episode? Caleb Maupin sucks and is dumb.
I think
Yeah.
that's a pretty good summary.
Yeah, Maupin
Cool.
sucks and is dumb. Jordan Peterson apparently writes his teleprompter notes on his dick or something because he was just
Yeah.
staring at his crotch the whole time.
That is something that he keeps doing, is he keeps looking like directly down when he's talking. And you'd think like he's got the Daily Wire behind him now, so like they've got to have a teleprompter like they can put in front of him, right? But instead he keeps looking directly down to read his notes about this really unhinged article he wrote.
Oh shit,
Yeah,
I was wrong. That's what his dick tats are.
Yeah, right. It's just articles that he. Nice.
My actual dictats.
I mean, his I will offer up a theory about his tendency to read rather than speak extemporaneously at this point. And I know that our operating theory previously was just that he's too brain damaged to like speak, and I think that's kind of true. But I think what's actually happening is that he is literally being held hostage by his daughter, and
Yeah, that's
the
probably
only
true.
way that she will allow him to fucking speak in public or in a recorded medium is if they agree in writing to what he's going to say before he says it.
Look, Dad, if you ever want to see a vegetable again, you gotta read these lines. Exactly
We
how I
gotta- we
wrote
gotta,
them.
check to see if he's doing like Morse code blinking or something.
Yeah.
She's probably keeping his benzos away from him, and he's afraid that he's gonna fucking like die or go psychotic. Fucking
I
so.
gotta
Right.
go sober now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good talk. If anybody wants to talk more about nationalism, maybe we can do that on a further episode. But I think the next episode will be the promised news episode. A lot of news that we need to talk about, I think.
Yeah, fuck that. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
Dorko Poop Man may or may not be there. It's up to him due to his new contract. But yeah,
And the you know, that whole legal thing where I'm not allowed to podcast anymore.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Government
I get it.
sanctions that you have.
Yeah, so I could probably get away with doing it like 2 or 3 times a week, but any more than that, and the
Well,
glowies might.
You
sell
know,
me out.
the legal thing we worked out with your lawyer is that we can have you on as an advisor or as a
I'm consultant,
commentator,
yeah.
but not as a primary source.
Right, I'm a consultant pundit, no
Right.
longer a co-host.
Yeah.
I'm stepping down from my
perch.
position as the God King of the Benzo Rehab Dungeon.
I don't
Now
think
I am
anybody here
simply-
would
simply a podcaster.
Yeah, I think most people wouldn't accept you as the God King of the Benzo Rehab Dungeon, but you know,
Yeah, well,
that's
you
your
know,
truth.
take it up with people in the past, you know, like
yeah,
you know,
okay.
we've moved past that. We've moved past
Yeah.
the fact that I am the God King of the Benzo Rehab Dungeon, or I
Some-
was, you know, it
Some
doesn't matter
people may be
anymore
surprised to
that
know
I
that
was that. And you know, there's no arguing with history, is all I'm saying, but we
Yeah.
don't have to hyper focus on it.
victory is written by the histers, as they say. Before we go, Dorko Poop Man, do you have any pitches you would like to give?
Trincata Workshop, check it out. It continues to be a workshop. Yeah, we're
God.
finishing up week 2 of talking about Karen Barad. Tomorrow morning, an extension from the previous week. And there's a gargantuan 2-part podcast with myself and Sparkle_fuck from Patreon and Instagram fame on that subject as well. So it was a good time, and more of those are on the way. So patreon.com/Trincata, TRUNCATA, and suck my butthole.
Okay, cool. John, you got anything you want to pitch? No, just say no.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, you're right. No.
Well,
Yeah,
you,
no.
you said yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
No.
That's some Midwestern bullshit, dude.
John doesn't have to pitch anything because I'm pitching a tent in my pants when I look at him.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The boner joke.
You asked me to show up and get more ladies on to watch the show and
That's-
dudes, but
Explicitly not why I asked you to show up. I said, you want to click on links and make no money for it? And you said, sure.
no, I mean, you sent me a piece of paper that said that I'm not allowed to wear pants or underwear while I'm on the show.
Yeah, and you don't
Yeah.
show any of those parts off.
Yeah, that's
so...
that's all for Mike. That's not for the ladies.
Yeah.
And let's
It's
be
because
honest,
I know
let's
in
be
my
honest.
brain that you're not wearing pants or underwear.
That's what arouses
I mean,
me.
obviously, if you look at the three of us, though, right now, with me and my soft, foxy, ooh glory, clearly I'm the one that's bringing on the lady folk. You know,
Got us there. All right. Well,
woof woof, or whatever the fuck sound foxes make. Some screaming yip sound, I guess.
yeah, foxes are horrible.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
make
Shout out to
good
my
dog
Londoners
sounds.
who get to listen
Yeah.
to foxes fuck outside their windows every night.
And those
Yeah.
those people that have foxes in their houses, I would rather go to a crackhead's house than go over to somebody's house who has foxes.
It will stay the fuck out of my house, John.
All right, you're not welcome here anymore.
It just smells like the worst feral piss and dick.
Oh hell yeah, dude.
like rotted in a dumpster for 3 months.
you
good.
I have to say, your house smells like rotting dick.
Which is a smell I know.
It's very
Won't expand
smell.
on that.
Yeah. This house
Great.
smells like Nietzsche.
Won't expand on that either. Cool. Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. As I always end these episodes, the Benzo Rehab Dungeon is and always will be a free broadcast. If you would like to donate to this project, you're welcome to go to the patreon.com/Benzo Rehab Dungeon. And donate as little or as much as you would like to. It won't get you anything special, but I do like it when you do that. And that's really all I got on that front. I'm sorry for fucking up the pitch because I'm a little bit drunk. But you know, we're having fun. We're having a good time. We're talking about why nationalism sucks and why Caleb Maupin is a dork ass nerd.
Hell yeah.
So next week we'll go back to some more topical news stories. I hope to never have to talk about Caleb Maupin again, and I hope that anybody who was a NazBol or considered themselves a NazBol before they started listening to this series of podcasts, I hope they've maybe changed their mind or like I don't know, looked into themselves a little bit more. But if they haven't, fuck them. Unfollow us. We think you're Nazis.
I don't care what
and
you do,
suck.
but I'm gonna make fun of you no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that being said, as always, we love you. Please take your medicine.
Please break into the old lady's house next door, tie her to the couch, beat her savagely, light the home on fire, go into her medicine cabinet, take all of that, take all of the medicine, and then go over to my home, do the exact same thing to me, but make it sexy and take mine too.
Yeah, but only if you share with your friends.
Wow,
Hell
that's
yeah.
very based.
Be a socialist about it.
Yeah. Wonderful.
No.
Good night, gentlemen.
God, fuck off.
So tired.